start with a joke? You're not gonna. No, you
We could
start
start
the
with a
show
joke.
still.
We could
So
start with
blurry.
a joke. You're blurry.
It's not.
All right, everybody,
All right. Well,
welcome back
I was
to
watching this.
We Are Aquarius, which means that I'm Aquarius,
Good.
and this guy's Aquarius, and this guy might be Aquarius.
I'm
Which
opposite to you guys, so
and
I'm on the other end of the spectrum there.
oh,
Over there in Leo.
he's 180 degrees.
I help keep them balanced,
So
Two
so
Aquarius. They
so
go spinning off in space and stuff.
so so we are Aquarius, and I think he is,
Stop
and
that.
he would be we are Leo.
Yeah.
But something like that. You know, if you
Leo
want to
is
be
the
a
opposite of
part
Aquarius,
of
yes.
We Are Aquarius, all you have to do is sign up this membership form. You got to donate $180 to our
Doing that.
charity, of which I'll just name it at random. You know, it could be We Are Aquarius charity,
And just
or
to let you know,
or
we can still reject you, and then $180 is non-refundable.
non-refundable all the time.
Cool up here.
FGCC. Write it out to FGCC.
Yes, you can do that too. But hopefully you'll
All right,
send it to We Are Aquarius,
So,
and then we can disperse the
mind you,
monies as is. But
I didn't think this joke was funny, but I just repeated it to people who might have thought that's funny. So anyway, I saw it on a YouTube short, so it's not my joke. But the guy said a woman has two sides of a brain, the left and the right. On the right side of the brain, there's nothing left, and on the left side of the brain, there's nothing right.
Oh boy.
And I said this to this 17-year-old girl that I work with, and she just says, "Well, men have two sides of a brain too." I'm like, yeah, I know. It's not scientific.
oh man,
I don't know, I just thought,
no truer words have been spoken. All right. So, anyways, we're going to introduce the first Gnostic Church of Christ, Thomas, over here on my right side. And how you doing, Thomas?
he's on your right, he's on my bottom.
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on again. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No problem, man. It's fun having you here. So, and also we got Brad over here as usual. No introduction needed,
My
I guess.
screen.
Okay.
Unless somebody's new, then they would definitely need an introduction.
Yeah.
That would be key.
Hey, you might have new viewers, so
Mm-hmm.
You never know,
You never know.
uh,
Never
you know. But yeah, I'm Brad on the show, right? Yeah.
know. Yeah. So,
All
anyways,
right. So
I'm
we were
Frank, and
talking about Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, did I blow it up? Did I blow you up? I steal your.
we're
I
we're
steal your
talking
moment.
we're talking about
I didn't even,
Christmas
I didn't even
in
ease into
Atlantean
it. Just
in Atlantean
Christmas.
times. Do the Atlanteans have Christmas? That's what we're going to talk about today. And if we can't talk about it, then I guess we'll just talk about Christmas. So, we'll
okay.
try
Yeah,
to.
that's-
There's no scientific proof of any of this. 'Cause
I
we really
have
don't
all
know.
the proof you
What do
could
we know
ever
about the
imagine.
Atlanteans?
I have all the proof.
What do we know about the Atlanteans? That they made a Atlantis place that was a bunch of circles.
Yes.
It looks kind of like the Rickott Center, but it might or might not be.
I
Except for every
think
couple weeks,
that
I'll find something in my feed that says, "Look what they just found the Rickott Center, Atlantis?" Question mark. It definitely is. So, I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure
It could
I'm
be.
pretty sure that is
Could be up
the
north.
capital of Atlantis, if Herodotus
Could
wrote
be in
about
New
it.
Zealand.
From
Could be many places. Well,
from-
there's definitely some. I like that thing from Bright Insight that one time. All those waves.
yeah,
But I don't know.
the only thing I can
There's
really
no
tell.
evidence of Christmas trees there though anymore, so
Mm,
we're not positive if the story of Saint Nicholas came and originated from what time period were the Atlanteans? I was gonna just make that argument right now.
That's a
Long-
good question.
When were the Atlanteans?
the first
Were they
deluge.
before that age of cancer when that flood happened? They
I
found
think-
some buildings like 13,000 years old now. They're pretty well structured.
might be
Pillars
it, yeah.
still standing. I think it was like in Turkey.
Yeah.
There's what's his name? Hancock found. Can't deny on him. Everybody loves Hancock. Is that
Yeah.
his last name? What's his first name again? Graham.
Oh, they're gonna say Han. Okay.
Is it hand? Is it?
What you said, Hancock? I didn't know.
I'm getting it wrong. Probably.
Oh, is it Alexander?
Is it Ham?
I don't know.
like the class. I don't know
I
his
don't
name.
know.
I don't know the other. I don't know
You're
any of the
talking so
people's names.
fast. I'm trying to find a spot to jump in. Okay, I'll just sit back and watch. I'll just do that.
Yeah, not. So I think like wasn't that Atlantis based on the writings of Plato, Timaeus, and I think it's called Critias or something. So it's an allegory on the hubris of nations. So if you could think of that as sort of being tied to Christmas, because that's what Christmas is all about, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
when we like
That's
appreciate each other and we exchange gifts and we humble ourselves to each other and stuff like that. So that's maybe the way I would tie it together. So I'm just sort of hypothesizing that yes, Atlanteans did
If the
indeed.
Atlanteans could pass any one message to the future, instead be good to each other.
Yeah.
Celebrate it
There you
specifically
go.
on one day.
That's what I mean. Otherwise,
definitely
your whole
well
nation will
played.
go down. You'll be ill-fated, just like Atlantis was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then they do all the magic and stuff. They blow up the tower, and everything goes Jenga. You know. So.
Yeah.
I
that's
watched
kinda-
this article where they said that the Who's from Whoville actually needed to make sound in order to survive, and it makes the Grinch like that much more evil because he was trying to take away all the presents that make him. So he's like trying to be like a mass murderer of all the Who's.
Where is this?
I don't know.
I just watched the Grinch Who Stole Christmas just a
Things
few
that
days
I
ago.
guess on my short. When you watch
Yeah.
shorts all day long, you learn interesting facts that may or may not be true.
I don't know, man.
What to believe anymore? Do you believe anymore? Do you believe? I believe the Atlanteans celebrate Christmas. I don't have to have proof.
I think what they did was they celebrated solstice. Probably. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Possibly.
They are smart. They celebrated things.
I think you hit it on the nail there.
Ooh.
Because it's like even the pagans.
But did they decorate?
They decorated with pyramids. Little
But
pyramids
did you know
they
that
put on their
Christmas
tree.
is actually the Christmas is actually the Christmas tree is eternal life, represents eternal life. That's why we pick like the evergreen or the perennial tree, and then the globes are
I was
representing
watching
the
our-
planets, and then the stars. So it's like the whole celestial story on the tree. So it's interesting you brought what did you say, the solstice? I can imagine for sure.
The winter solstice, yeah.
Yeah. They celebrated something
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah, I would think that's kind of what they did there.
The Christmas tree started like in the maybe 1300s ish in France and Germany region.
I think a lot of things.
Where do they?
I think to probably surmise some of this actually to kind of like put some of this together to put in retrospect. A lot of celebrations have been amalgamations of other celebrations incorporated into their own, and
Right.
pulling them into their own fold and recreating it anew. And so there's other people who say, "Oh, well, this was just from this other time period and stuff." Okay, sure, but it's not being celebrated like that. It's being celebrated like this. So it's a changed thing, but it's still around the same season. It's still kind of, because long ago they would celebrate the solstice for the fact that, hey, I survived winter. Now the sun's gonna start coming sooner, and we don't have to like, because what they would do is they'd hoard their food as long as they could until they had almost nothing left, and then once summer's coming, they know how many days before spring's gonna come, and then plants are gonna grow, and then they know how to live life that way.
Stay alive.
Stay alive. Yeah, essentially staying alive. I think,
well,
I mean, that's been
you
like
can
a
really
massive, what? What do you say?
Back then, staying alive.
Staying alive. Staying. Yeah, it's kind of, that,
Nowadays, that's what upsets me.
That's a funny thing.
Christmas is just forgotten.
That's all we really know about
Not celebrating
Atlantis
it on
with Christmas,
Jesus' birth.
honestly.
We're celebrating Christmas trees. Our Christmas trees, like, use sense, and I agree with you on that. Like, I like to do a real Christmas tree, and I like to say it's an honor of a light shining at the top of the tree. There's waiting for the holiday of Jesus. It feels right.
Yeah, it does feel right.
My
I didn't
kids
hear a word you said.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah,
like, I don't really care about Elf on the Shelf. I was like, Elf on the Shelf is just now somebody made Elf on the Shelf bad Elf on the Shelf. Now bad Elf on the Shelf is always breaking into cookie jar, or doing something, making a mess somehow, some way. You got to find what he did wrong. Elf on the Shelf has scissors this time, and he was cutting something. Oh, it's all funny to like people anymore. Like, be destructive. It's not, Christmas isn't about just like being destructive and buying cheap presents. It's about Jesus' birth. That's pretty much it. It's not.
Yeah.
Star of Bethlehem, right?
I mean,
Top of the tree. That's
The
what people get.
the other thing that I had to wonder is Jesus not just, is it the representation of Jesus, kind of like how Atlantis was such a symbolic thing from way back in a time, being a high civilization and all that. Is Jesus the beginning part of the time frame of moving forward into a new? Because in a way,
Jesus is
how
supposed to be
they
the
had
end of
it.
all. Aquarius is supposed to be the beginning of the new cycle.
Yeah.
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 It makes me
But
wonder.
I'm saying,
what would happen
is
if
it
Jesus
like,
didn't die?
is it like leading
It
into
seems like
a
he knew he was going to die.
Is he the emblematic symbol of leading into the new, higher
Age.
symbolic age? The
Yeah.
the higher age of reason and wisdom. Because Atlantis was that. From what we know, Atlantis was the high tech civilization, which I would imagine, would probably parallel or maybe go beyond what we have today. We can't really know, because maybe either all the metal melted or it rusted away. Who knows what happened, with whatever catastrophe took place to wipe it off the face of the earth. We can't really say. We all we can say is what we see with the stones that are left behind. That's it. But what I'm wondering is that with Atlantis, and all that, is Jesus kind of like ushering in this age of, I mean, yeah, I know it sounds silly, but like, is he ushering in the age of Aquarius? Is he ushering in the age of, because he says he's coming in with the water jugs, watch out for the man with the water jugs. And men didn't carry water jugs long ago. It was just the women back in the day. So that's my question. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I think it's a great question.
Perplexing
but
question.
I think
Go ahead.
I actually believe like this. He was the sort of the epitome of three ages. The first being the Lamb, which is Aries, and then the Fisher of Men, and then ultimately, as you said, Frank, about the water jug, which is a symbol of the Aquarian man, right? And so that represents the body, which is the lamb, which is sacrificed, and then the soul, which is the water sign, Pisces, and the spirit, which is the air sign, Aquarius.
Wow.
So it's like three parts.
That was poetic and beautiful to say at the same time. I didn't...
And they say that too, that things are in those like three quadrants and stuff. I mean, even the Buddhists say there's like 4 cycles overall and stuff like that of different,
That's
different time periods of.
4 elements,
Yeah.
of the 4 sections of the hemisphere, the different hemispheres. So made up of like 12,
Yeah,
and he's the 13th.
Who's the 13th?
The Christ is the 13th.
He's the 13th one.
Yeah, he's the hidden zodiac. He's the pathway into eternal life.
That's interesting. I always thought 13 was my special lucky number.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
It's
I
mostly
mean, a
playing
lot of
pool,
people
but
think it's unlucky,
I
but
wish
that's
it,
I wish I
yeah, uncanny
understood.
to think differently.
I had I had this idea the other day of, and I messaged it to you, that Big Bang could be thought of as like a seed, and like we're on the side of the roots that were absorbing things. That's why we have so many black holes in our universe and stuff. It's uh, vines, our side of the seed is like a growing tree, heaven, like on the side of. It's like we're not even in this universe. It's like made up of the same. Uh, that's like carbon. You,
Yeah.
just because you
what are you saying?
his gold is so bright. The, about the tree. The reason we have black hole is because the hole is the tree growing from our side. The universe is shaped root sucking reals side. Nothing.
You're
There's
kind
nothing more
of
than like soil.
Brad, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. I'm trying to interpret what you're saying here.
It's a bummer. Turn off a lot of things. It's because my mom a lot of things on the internet.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I would say like based on if I'm understanding you correctly, Brad, you in Gnosticism we talk about something similar to kind of what you're hinting at if I'm understanding through your breaking up. The masculine and the feminine is a sort of like the human being, like you got the male and the female, they come together and they copulate, and then you have a seed, you have the progeny. So the same thing here, the black hole is sort of like the feminine, and then the rest of the universe is sort of like injecting its light, would be like the masculine, and then they together um, continue to expand the universe. So that's kind of what I'm hearing you say through a Gnostic lens. I don't know, maybe you said you were trying to say something differently, but that's what I was hearing.
Uh, a different, it's all a take on how to look at it. I was just saying that I think like there's the reason we haven't found white holes in this universe is because the white holes lead to an opposite side.
Ah, wow, that's an interesting hypothesis.
It, and the opposite sides of taking in all of this, it's the growth, it's the tree's growth. Like we're like in the soil, and these universes are sucking up, clunking it together and absorbing it and sucking it up. Tree to grow, but that we're just in the soil. The tree's on the opposite side of the Big Bang. It's
Okay.
up, and it's going to grow much bigger than our side.
So we're like the dirt,
Uh,
and stuff. Okay.
yeah, we're like in the dirt. We're just really the dirt of it all. That's why it's absorbing everything. That's why we have these black holes absorbing it all up. Where's it going? It's going up the tube into like the life side of things, where things are.
That's
I'm
interesting.
just saying, like, I don't like to look at heaven like it's, I don't know, even Earth 2.0. I don't really like to look at it like it's, I just think it's gonna be much better than like, I was wrong to think, oh, we're just really like farmers. We're just gonna grow. I don't think it's gonna be factory farm. I think like tree, like we're, I don't know. I don't know. Like life was gonna be so much better under God.
you
Like
think there's
infinitely
something
better.
more
We're
than
just
just sitting on a cloud with harp and
I
stuff like
think
that?
that this idea of carbon and materials and limitations and gravity and time is really just not part of heaven. These are all just laws that are just bound by God's design. Heaven doesn't have to follow these laws, and it's not like you're gonna see it. You don't have to see it. It's not like, oh, I'll have the ability to move things, and there's not gonna be
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
There's no things. Things are carbon based. You're not
Hmm.
gonna need to move. You don't need a. What are you gonna make a bigger mansion for yourself? Your light, your space, your. There's no space and time. You don't need to make a bigger mansion for yourself. You live in an infinite amount of space and time in the first place.
I always kind
It's
of wonder,
about
do you
it's
just
about
kind of like float around and you just,
Yeah.
you know, a ball of light and you just kind of float around and you might meet and talk to other people in an energy form. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, because when
I think
Jesus,
as God gives you the gift of knowledge and understanding of it all, you begin to realize that if you go back to this planet that you want to take care of it, that
Mhm.
you realize that what is real and what isn't real is just what you make it.
Yeah, that's why I thought for a while. I, it's kind
Through
of
God, I mean,
on and
when
off. I've been
if you
thinking
want to believe in God and live
on
through
and
him.
off. I've been thinking that too. It's almost like this time that we have here is like what they say with the Christmas Carol. You know, this is called the present. That's why it's called the present. This is a
Yeah.
gift that we're given, and we some of us can look at it like a curse. Some of us can look at it like hell. Some of us can look at it like heaven, or some of us could see that it's somewhere in between. But it's still a gift that we have. We can use it for our betterment and for others' betterment. And you know, honestly, Christmas season kind of like shows you that. Like if you, especially if you watch "It's a Wonderful Life" or you know other movies like that, you're gonna
Christmas
notice that Christmas
Carol,
Carol,
so
uh,
good.
and yeah, I think especially for the Christmas season, this is kind of what we get to see a lot of, and a lot of people, you know, kind of. And the thing is, like, especially with the Atlanteans, if they were, you know, looking at the stars or looking at how the planets move and how the planet is, especially with that article you showed me where maybe the pyramids were made as a way to protect the planet to make sure it stays stable so there's not as many earthquakes or volcanoes or whatever, which I think maybe that's the case. They were trying to protect the planet, you know, because um, just trying to keep things in a good positive light, you know, trying to fix things, trying to make things better. Uh, you know, with the Christmas season, you know, if they did, which it seems like, you know, our solstices because of the way that I want to say it was the Atlanteans too that made the ringed stones like Stonehenge and all those ringed stones and not just the pyramids but these other monolithic things to try to uh, you know show when solstice was
Not the
going to
faces
happen.
in Easter Island.
What?
The faces in Easter Island too.
Maybe. I
What about some of those some of those stones? I'm sure were pretty huge.
maybe the fact is, um, yeah, it's to preserve the good things you can preserve in life, so they don't die.
You think
You know, they
if a
don't go
culture
away.
was around for 100
Their
out
their culture.
without? mm, I mean, we'll think how far we've come. Not
I
just
think their
I mean,
culture
we've
was
made our
on around for a
oil and
while.
stuff. It's destroyed it. But if you avoided certain little aspects, I heard when we were letting it like infect our brains, or like, and making it die sooner, and I think we should not let it. Because whoops, that's not good. I mean, we've done some display, but imagine a culture been around for 100,000 years versus what have we been like? Uh,
I
and
what I
almost
want
everything
to
based on is ancient culture, and
what I want to say real quick is that I think what happened with them and why they fell is they got to a high point in their technology, but they lost their humanity, and they forgot. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but maybe they tried to preserve some
that
goodness
powerful
of
just have one.
what?
Was that they wouldn't have just had no real like
Have you guys heard of
Sense of
Michael Tessarian?
No, I haven't heard of him. Who's he?
So he's a what's called an astro theologist, and he did quite a bit of extensive study into Atlantis and Mu and Lemuria
Hmm.
and the Bible and Gnostic texts, and his conclusion, or he hypothesized that essentially Atlanteans were, excuse me, were what the Bible talks about as being the Nephilim or Seraphim or the cherubim. They came down and they essentially, however you want to look at it, some people say it was actually copulating with daughters of men. Others say no, it was genetic manipulation. And so what they did is they're a great culture from their planet Nabaru. They brought here to Earth, and that's where you get the pyramids and everything. Um,
Hmm.
and that's sort of like a beacon that speaks back to their planet and stuff. But at any rate, the point being, what sort of led to Atlantis' demise was that there ended up being two groups within the Atlanteans or the Nabirians, Nabaru. They also call them Anunnaki.
Hmm.
The disagreement was that the human hybrids, one group wanted to keep them as slaves, basically. The other group wanted to liberate them, and a faction broke off, and they went to essentially establish Lemuria. And eventually,
Hmm.
the two groups clashed, and it led to this nuclear war, and both of them were decimated because of the nuclear
Wow.
war, and they sunk into the ocean. He's got all. It's very fascinating. He's got all of this. Scriptures that he shows and all this various books he uses and he does a lot of citing of different historical and archaeological finds to show his material. So it's quite fascinating.
wonder.
I think I heard that before. Did you guys hear an echo before or not?
I'm sorry.
Did you hear an echo at all with me?
You mean like from you? No, I don't know. I don't think
Okay.
so. I might have just wasn't paying attention probably.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Sorry
I
about
always
that.
say that the Sumerian times of having, Enki and Adad and twin, but that's all taking place at the same time as Gemini, the Gemini cycle. So you wonder the
Hmm.
Atlantean times is the same kind of thing that during the Gemini cycle they just couldn't handle this pull. I think that's the thing of Aquarius. Aquarius is kind of like things in your face. Like you said, it's an open air sign. It's whatever you really want it, whatever people want to fight politically and all that. Get into a whole political conversation, but it's just absolutely insane. Like
Hmm.
he's headed in all these different directions. You don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
He has outed everybody, and everybody has somebody that says you can't trust that person. You can be like, oh, they're a good guy. Not in the political else, and it's just insane. Like
Yeah.
that's scary. And I don't know what to give
Well,
about all that. And
I think
political is more like we were playing. You build somebody up. Know that person in that group just get their votes because you know that they're going to go down to you anyway. And if you can get their backing, that's
well, you know what I
like
think
people have
you know what I
art
think the
to
good
it about the people, just about when it's weird. It's, what were you going to say? So, I thought
I
you
don't
were
know.
gonna.
You're kind of sometimes you're kind of cutting out a lot, and then I'm hearing half the conversation and not. So if you talk really fast, it's like I don't like you're talking political and it.
I wonder if it's like the position you're in or something like that that's causing your connection to be kind of like not good off and on.
No, it's that. upstairs. They're watching Netflix. I'm pretty sure.
I
Try to
see.
tell them,
Okay.
please don't.
Well, I don't know
But
if that's the case, but um, uh, anyways, with the
I have an
what
iPad. They
what I
can
was gonna
connect
interject what I
connect to
was
their
gonna
phone.
interject with that though is it's almost like the symbolism of each age, almost somewhat maybe matches the way people live. In Pisces, people lived in a lot of groups. Fish are a school of groups. Bigger fish eat the smaller fish. Uh, a lot of emotions, as far as like the Pisces things is concerned. So kings and queens, like they don't like another country, they can fight, form a declaration, go to war. I mean, there was a ton of kings and queens going to war all the time, the entire time of that age. There could be some other symbolism incorporated into it. I'm
Hmm.
having a hard time thinking about what that could be. But for Aquarian Age, I can think the positive and negatives of it are going to be about truth, you
Yeah.
know. And it's funny. I was watching Supernatural. I don't know if you ever saw Supernatural, Thomas.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I haven't actually watched it. Sounds interesting though.
It's pretty cool, and actually, it gets to the end part where
I should
God
get into it.
they have to fight God, or they try to
Oh.
fight God because God is, kind of, playing with them like they're chess pieces. Like if you read the Book of Job, So
Yeah.
Dean and Sam, they're trying to find a way to stop God or kill God. And then they're trying to use other entities like Michael and Lucifer and all these other casts of characters that are in there, good, bad, in between, and everything. But before then, they're always fighting demons or ghosts or werewolves and stuff. They're always fighting on his side. But at the end, they find out God is just an editor, and these are just people in his script, and they
Uh,
want to have some kind of meaning to their life. So they try to fight, God. And this one part, there's a Nephilim that's born. His name is Jack, and
mm,
this Nephilim, he just goes in this town. He's trying to have a good existence because he was just born. But he goes in this town. And he's like, just stop lying, and then everybody cannot lie. Like as soon as that happens, like everybody just bursts into emotions. People start fighting each other. They get angry with each other because they can't stop telling the truth. And then God comes in and he has to change it. He's like, see, if you don't let people lie,
yeah.
this is what happens. So I'm thinking with the Aquarian Age, as you see how things start to break down from the Piscean Age, where the bigger fish always survive. The school of fish is the right way to do things. We're doing more individual things now. But we're coming to a point where it's like the truth is in the air, is in the voice. The Aquarian is it's air, it's water, it's converting air to water in a way because the man pours out the jug and it turns into water on the land. So something that is invisible turns physical. So it's almost like our conversations, like this, just talking about it, putting on the air. Now we've actually made something physical. And
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of these things, all these videos on YouTube and all over the place. It's like we're coming from a place of confined uh, systems, set up confined systems. Only the top thing can win. Whereas in the past, we tried to do something like this wouldn't succeed, to the point that now the truth, no matter how small it is, very tiny little droplets of truth, they're all starting to sprinkle out, and the old system is crumbling. This system is starting. The only problem with that is in the future, if everything turns to the point of you got these surveillance cameras everywhere, you you're just constantly monitored all the time.
Can I ask you a
you know
question, Trick?
so it's almost like with the AI doing what they do, the AI will just monitor you 100% no matter what, and then you'll just be monitored by the AI, and the AI system could turn out to be like the devilish figure in the future that people might not want, you know but the good thing is the truth is coming to light. So I don't know, it seems like we're getting hints of that in either videos or reality.
But why
And
is there so many people being gay now?
I
Yeah,
I can't.
I don't necessarily
I've
think
come to the
that.
conclusion.
Yeah,
What?
I don't agree
What are
with
you
that.
gonna say?
I think basically what you have is people are a lot more able to be who they've always been, and so there are a lot more people just stating that because they don't feel as much
You
repercussion.
think that they've always been gay and they just
Yeah, I
never
mean, like for
admitted it?
example, presuming that, if you're thinking about each one of our orientations, can you change it? You can't change it, right? Uh, Unless you want to tell me something that I don't know. I'm presuming that you can't change your heterosexuality. So I don't think of it like that. If you think back to the Greeks, it was like being gay was very normal. It was a good part of society, and it goes in ebbs and flows. I think it's just people just a lot more willing to accept people as they actually are that you're seeing, you know, and not just sort of leave them alone so they have more room to just be themselves.
Yeah, I can't like. I mean, I guess if you, it's like it's just purely doesn't
Just
serve any
pure
purpose. Merit
purely what?
that occasionally, but kind of like between. I'll be honest with you. I think that there's a lot of people out there. Being alpha male, it's hard work. You got to study, got to study harder. You got to be an alpha male. So they just become late. For some reason, I think be like with it. It's like look and be like, he's a good looking guy. Good looking guy. I think we we do there. Not not judging like that. Really not. It's not my place to be a judger. It's pleasurable. You doing it? Just have pleasure. Pleasure. Is that okay?
I think so. I think that God made us free will. All
Wedlock
things
though.
are permitted, not everything is prudent. But I think that everybody has to find their own path, you know. Furthermore, I don't really think that it's consequential ultimately. Um, if I have a gay neighbor or a gay brother or whatever, I don't care. It's not bothering me. It's not going to change society. There's always going to be heterosexuals making babies. It's not like a few gay people are going to change that. They've always been around. I just think it's hyped up for political reasons, and people fall into that kind of mindset of being afraid of something that really people shouldn't be afraid of. That's, you're asking me. That's my thoughts on it.
No,
Yeah.
you go. That's all. I mean, like I read. I was telling you, it's yes. So yes. Or uh, they wanted to consider making AI porn children as a. And I'm thinking like with today's technology, there's not much for you can get so much closer. And it's like, what are we? What? That's
Are you talking about?
what's not.
Are you saying AI porn?
Yeah, AI porn, but with children.
Yeah, that's still
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah,
See,
I
see,
mean,
there's there,
I
Wrong.
don't think that really has anything to do with heterosexuality or homosexuality because pedophilia has existed throughout time. And there was a time actually, getting married at 12 years with a 30-year-old man was perfectly considered normal. Now, I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying I agree with pedophilia, but I'm saying that that's always existed. Even in the Bible was, shown that they married at 12 or 13 years old. Um, so I don't think it's anything to do with, oh, now there's gay people, it's going to lead to pedophilia or whatever, or bestiality. I think what, personally, I think that it's about consent, and that's why it's not best for society to be supporting
I
pedophilia.
guess I guess the point I'm making, as you said before about the media making it a thing, it's not just the media making a thing. It's that it's more in everybody's face. I can't hide from my daughter if she were. There was an article about a person in the White House that had gays
Well, you can't.
and like the Oval
Yeah,
Office or something like that.
yeah.
And again, I don't care
Well,
about it being gay. It's not my place to judge. What my point is all the cameras being where it's public. I can't keep all the stuff behind closed doors. Why did it all of a sudden just become porn is free?
Well,
yeah.
Free.
uh,
Not even fine to get.
I
Google will gladly give you every website imaginable.
I kind of want to jump in
It's
with
like it's
that
just
because with the whole uh, going down that road and everything. Uh, I
I
think what they're trying to do is they're trying to it's not just the gay, it's about um, the transitioning of children and making them the eunuchs and that sort of thing at a young age before they're even old enough to think for themselves on that. Kids grow up and they might have an idea. They might want to put on their mom's shoes, or if if they're a girl, they might want to do a lot of manly things or something like that. They explore that idea when they're younger, but to like you talked about nature versus nurture, like I'm wondering if we're segueing into some of that, but and I can understand that, but I think when you try to force a child to have ideas that are, and I'm going to say
but we all are.
unnatural in a
Society
sense,
is that.
a societal unnaturalness because it doesn't go with the natural order of things,
Inevitable to
then
live
I
in a world of
think
sin.
then I think you're even if the parents are that way, I think honestly you should give the child the opportunity to want to nurture them in a way that they could be productive in a society where they could have a child. Trying to change
But
them into a different sex or trying to do this at a young age is just basically being a Dr. Victor Frankenstein. And that's really what I think it is.
Oh,
And,
I mean, I hope you guys are not
you know,
disappointed, but
you know,
I guess I'm the Leo on the other side of the spectrum here.
you know,
I think myself, I believe that the Aquarian Age is a representation of tearing down all taboos. So, you can't grow if you're always shielded from things. And this idea it's not natural, I can't agree with that because I think everything's natural. I think it's a question of what kind of society you want to build. And I don't necessarily think that um, whether a child wants to be trans or not is going to destroy society. And I don't think there's some agenda to make everybody into trans. Um, what I think is essentially what you have is people should be able to, the parents should be able to, along with the doctor and the psychological team, come up with their answer for their own family and not have government dictate that. Because then we're getting into the territory of, well, if government gets to call a shot on one thing, what else does it get to call a shot on?
yeah,
Um,
that's true. It's just what I'm trying to say is that there's there's going to be a lot of long-term consequences as a child grows. They're going to grow up and they're going to get a lot older, and they're going to be
the same
happy
thing
or
for a
angry
lot
with
of
their
things.
parents for certain things
Yeah,
because a child growing up, and I've seen this too. I've talked to somebody that was like a pretty sort of hardcore Buddhist, and they joined one of those groups where they could just have sex with anybody they wanted to at any point
yeah,
in time, and if that's what they want to do, that's their call. But if they have a child in that sense, and then the child goes to some other father or somebody else, and the child doesn't grow up even knowing who their father is or their mother is, or, well, they know their mother, possibly. But if they get kind of bounced around a lot, a child growing up without a father figure or a mother figure is going to be kind of lost, in a
I,
sense, emotionally in that sense. And so,
I, I think that's
All
only
lost. That's what I'm trying
society
to make the
has
point
that
of.
kind of
All
expectation.
lost.
Did you have a Barack Obama who didn't have a father? He ended up being president. I think that's a
yeah,
myth. And furthermore, what you said earlier about this idea that like the kid is being forced into it, and the sort of straw manning of finding somebody who later was harmed by it or disfigured or regretted it. Just as many that for that one, there are like 100 that don't regret it and was happy that it happened, and it made their lives far more productive if they were not who they felt they were inside themselves. So I think straw
I'm
manning is
not.
the
All
wrong
right.
idea. Like for example, there's all kinds of operations happening every day, sometimes they go wrong. Sometimes
But
people
what do we
regret.
put on basis on what exactly makes a woman a woman? I don't mean to cut. I just don't understand making sense in
I think everybody has to
the first
decide for
place for a woman.
themselves, and I don't want to go around telling people like
But
this is the
then
way,
why?
because that leads to
Then why do
dogma.
like?
And dogma
I
leads
don't
to
understand why people
suffering
do.
and persecution and just the wrong way to go, in my opinion. I don't see that as Aquarian Age personally. I see it's going backwards. Now, if you have your own personal thoughts about it and you want to raise your children that way, that's perfectly fine. But to get government involved and force other parents, I just don't agree with that. Sorry, guys.
yeah, I'm not really suggesting
I'm
government be involved
not
in
just. I
in
agree
that.
with you, and I actually agree with your argument more than anything because I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to get all political.
Yeah. Well, no,
It,
it's fine. I don't think it's political. I think
it's
it's this
saying that I
discussion
don't.
where everybody's having in today's society. It's not really political. I don't,
If
go ahead,
government's
sorry.
involved in the government's made it political because they got involved in the first place. I don't know what the first. Maybe when the Christian couple decided not to make cake, the icing.
I think
I
it's
don't know
when, like,
for the avalanche. I
yeah,
guess
I think it's when a Christian, dogmatic Christian wanted to dictate for everybody else, what's right and wrong, like based on what they think and cherry pick the Bible. I think that it should be between God and that person, not like a Christian church trying to push dogma into the government. Um, so, like
but
this is all hyped out. It's
but
hyped
my
out of control. There's too much phobia around this whole thing. Like it's just.
under is what I just on this ending of it that I do. What I still don't understand is okay. We've had tons of powerful women out there that can and they can want to date women. It's regardless, like I said before, or gay. Mutilation part is what I don't quite understand. I just don't understand because you want to have to. There's no other. The only thing you're mutilating is your sex organ. So it's because you need to penetrate. That like you can't live your life without that ability to penetrate. But more than just the ability of something, it's you have to mutate. I just don't. You can be as manly as you. I mean, I've met tons of hit me in the arm. It's like ow,
Hmm.
and they're cool as shit. I don't care, but and vice versa. I've met tons of guys that are unbelievably gay, and I just don't quite understand. The guy wants to become a woman again. If you want to dress like a woman, you want to go out and do it. Eric, you do
Might I
you.
just respond to what you're saying?
I don't care. But why do you want to hurt yourself physically?
Can I respond real
Or
quickly? First off, I'd like
sure,
to say I don't I personally don't agree with it, but like I understand what you're saying. I'm on the same page with you. Like
we're not
if
even on
God
at
made
the
you into
science
a
of
guy
it.
or a girl, then why do you need to go and, like you said, mutilate a body part and all of that, right? I totally get it. I totally get what you're saying, and I know you're concerned about your own kid being sort of like pulled
It's no
away and
different than
all that.
circumcision in a sense.
Right, right.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
I
have,
agree with you
I can
saying.
go,
I totally get
but
the
but it's
scare,
strange
the
though.
fear for it, right? But what I say is, uh, you really have to just, this is like in the Aquarian Age, and what I understand from reading the Bible and Gnostic texts, Aquarian Age is about when everything becomes permissible. And the reason why that's happening is God is challenging us to see, it's like basically if you really want to test somebody, you just sort of have to, that's sort of like that. Let's see if you really are over alcoholism. Let's put all the different kinds of alcohol right in front of you. And who's going to be the one that really went through the 12-step program? But that has to be left up to the individual, not because you can't make it into like a societal thing, because if you
Hmm.
do, then it ends up with war, people warring over
Yeah,
the
On
dogma.
yeah,
and mafia, mafia lying, not following the law,
Yeah.
making the majority of the profit, and then splitting it with the police in the first place, so
Yeah.
they can stay doing what they're doing.
hmm
Becomes bad idea.
Yeah.
yeah. I
God,
think I think a lot of things are really just pretty much what I realized lately is the way the key to I think probably one of the main keys into ascending is to neutralize addictions. And everybody has different addictions. Some
Yeah.
people might think it's just alcoholism. No, it's not. Everything can be an addiction. Anything can be an
Right.
addiction. And
Yeah.
I think
for
a
sure.
lot of people don't have self control. It's most people. Even Paul says there are no righteous people in the world,
That
and there
includes each one
that's
of us here. The three of us, we got our own addictions, right?
yeah. And so we're
For
always
sure.
we're
Including
always
you.
kind of battling these addictions,
Yep.
to uh, basically come to the summit of our reality. Now, you could go to some place and they could tell you you have an addiction, and if you do that and you stop and you stay away from it, yes, that's how you stop the addiction. For me, I see it that if I can control it and I don't let it take control of me, then I have conquered that addiction. Now it's not
Yeah.
something that controls me, but you
But
may
don't
have a
have the addiction of
situation where
judgmentalism
you you
either.
you may have an
Someone else's
addiction
life is not
to
your own.
I'm just saying you may have addiction to, or maybe being around cigarettes or something like that becomes an addiction to you, and now you just get sucked in because you're just around it, and so you may have to stay away from that if that is just something that no matter what, at a certain point in time, it's going to get you to want to pull a dragon, and nicotine is highly addictive. So there could be certain things that are addictive that your body might not have control of, but if you can, personally, I try to do is try to conquer it so it doesn't conquer me and I have control over that. And I think there's a lot of people out there that try to do the same thing. Not many people are successful. I'm not saying I'm super successful at everything, but I think I think the world is filled with that, and I think that's one of our main goals to overcome. And I think
Well,
Jesus
stuff like
stated that
child trafficking and all
in
that
so many
is
ways.
very real. The government uses the whole LGBT community agenda as a way to like shield their trafficking organization. So I'm saying the government's just corrupt. They're corrupt.
Yeah, I think there's like
Clinton's corrupt.
me myself. I
People
think
are
I'm
all just
really
corrupt.
just kind of like hyped. Like for myself, what I see is in the old way of thinking, the Piscean way of thinking was to find a sacrificial lamb, like to find a scapegoat. It's about what we believe. It's about all our fears, our dogma. The Aquarian Age is liberating from that, like you talked about, Frank, is what I also believe is we're moving from a time of what we believe into a time of truth and
Mm-hmm.
everything comes out so that we see what is really what it
Mm-hmm.
is versus what we believe we want to believe it is, right? And I think that people
Exactly.
just telling their truth, right? And so the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, like, in Gnosticism, we're moving from this orientation of being worried about what everybody else is doing, right? And sort of like, oh, look, these gay people or the trans people or this person down the road, to focusing on yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
once we all do that, then we can really accomplish what Christ asks us to do, which is not to judge one another, because you don't know if it's just about an addiction.
Yeah.
Maybe these gay people really were meant to be gay by God. God created them that way. We don't know. Just like you are you when you wake up, you don't question it. We don't
Mm-hmm.
question our heterosexuality. We don't know that unless you walk in their shoe. And, you know, we can come up with all of these reasons why, oh, these are the bad people and we're the good people. But I think that's just not the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah,
It's just we're all
Jesus
people.
did push forth um, that understanding of it. The thing that I'm worried about, with like I was saying, and you were saying, I'm making a straw man, but the fact is, I deal with a lot of strategy, and in possibilities, there's potentials, and they usually run hand in hand a lot of the time. Uh, what happened with the Atlantean era, from what I read, is they made chimeras, which meant that they literally fused different animals together, which is why we see these different mythological creatures and stuff. I think that they actually did make some of those things. Um, Going forward, changing our bodies, that's up to people's and their individuality and stuff. I just think that for children at a young age, going forward, unless they have the ability to reverse that and get everything functionally back, whether they just throw it away or they keep these parts, it could turn into a scenario where a child grows up, he thought he wanted to be that, but he felt like he was influenced, and because of that, he can't go back. And now,
Here's what I
I,
think about
you
that,
know,
Frank.
so I'm just saying,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
those instances, which there might not be a lot, I've heard of a case or two about that, but those instances going forward, it's going to turn it, because it could happen, it probably will happen.
Right.
And these
Right.
things do, time doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. It Those scenarios, you're going to hear a major outcry from a small group, and that small group's going to turn big. And I'm afraid that you're going to get a lot of potential eunuchs, people growing up in having a long span of life and not being able to have the ability to have a successful partner, because they either can't work with the partner to please a partner or even please themselves. And I don't want to turn it down that road in that sense. I wasn't even thinking we were going to be talking about this, but I'm
I
just
didn't
saying,
either.
from these perspectives, there could be some massive bombshells that just blow up in people's faces, and
Yeah,
it
I
could lead
understand.
to
Christmas.
Yeah,
suicide. It could lead
I
to,
understand your conservative perspective on it because, like,
you know,
like I personally think that's been the case with all new technologies. Oh, like even like when they had the first surgery,
Viral because
there
this
were
is
people
how.
that
Sorry.
were killed and stuff because they were the first to be experimented. Now, in terms of children, again, I think that's up to the parent, the psychologist, and the family, the parents. Like, and then there's plenty of stories of trans children that started on hormone therapy and went on to live happy, productive lives, more so than those few that you're talking about, Frank. So the thing is, God is asking us because we're moving into transhumanism, which is part of the Aquarian Age. This is the natural recourse of everything. As far as your fears about Atlantis, I can't deny it or disagree with it. Um, do things repeat itself? Sure, they do, but not all things repeat itself. Maybe that was they failed to accomplish something. Doesn't necessarily mean makes it wrong. Uh, I just don't think of it as being a right and wrong. I think of it more like God is asking us to try on different things so we can grow and we can come to understand for ourselves, like what is good for us and what's not good for us.
hmm.
Instead of living in a space of fear, live in a space of openness to learn and grow and perfect things.
And I'd be open to that in a sense, if there was a lot of warnings as to potential
Yeah,
of
I
certain,
can agree with
because
that. I do think that
when
yeah,
people
I do
when
agree.
people watch me do strategy games, they want me to explain
Yeah,
exactly
it should
what
it
could
shouldn't be a
happen, while
capitalistic
it's going
view
to happen, or when it
of
happened,
how
or if
you
I
can
screwed
make
up.
something on.
They want me to explain it, because they're trying to figure out why I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and a
You don't
lot of
want some
people
trans
can't,
kid going to like Mexico
they can't see it. So
because
Yeah.
they
I kind of
got
have
no
to go in,
insurance and stuff like that. And
you know. What are you saying, Brad?
in the sense that you were saying about, well, I'm saying, you know how you said you don't want government to influence it, but it's like you don't want trans kids to start going to like doctors and stuff because that's what they believe and they need to go through with this surgery to be
The
complete.
kids can't
And they're
just
like,
go do
you know,
that. Like it has to be approved by a team of therapists, and the
Mhm.
the parents have to also approve it. Now, if you're talking about these people go down to Mexico, that happens with everything. Like even if you made it
right.
illegal,
Well, but
they'd
that's what
still
I'm.
go do that.
But that's what I'm saying. People don't follow the law. I mean, the law is nothing more than a piece of paper. It's my main principle why I believe in God in the first place, because you can't have law without order. And I
Mhm.
guarantee if there was no order in this universe, things would just be falling apart. There's an explanation for it all, but you know,
It'd be absolute
I'm just
chaos.
saying we 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 all have been breaking the law, and whatever that speed does, you don't like that speed, you might want to be going faster than it. That's no big deal. Everybody was going faster in the entire line. And maybe you're the person who doesn't speed.
Your
Maybe
point
you're the
is
person
well
who,
taken, Brad.
you don't care. Yeah, you've had a beer, whatever. You can drive calmly. We
Well,
all
law is
follow
made
our
for the
own
lawless. Let's
dictation of
put
what
it that
law
way.
is.
Yeah,
Or,
this
or,
is the
or
fun part of
we
this
choose
show
our own right and wrong.
where we're trying to figure out like how
Well, I'm
far
saying we
can you
choose our
go
own right and wrong.
versus
And I
how
and I
far
agree with you.
you can't,
It's not
you
about
know.
what the other person's doing. It's about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But and I don't want to get into all again. It just will keep going down the rabbit hole, because then you get into situations like, you know, Hamas and Israel, and you think, well, Israel is really showing their ability to control the Gaza Strip. Hamas is really showing their ability of how far they'll go in trying to confuse their enemy to just make an advance and do more crazy things. It's all just more innocent people have to die a for what? I mean, for some holy land? Like, a lot of oil, I guess. A lot of oil down there
And
that
that's
we
that's
know
the
about
thing,
too.
Brad. It's
It's all
like
just crap.
you
It's all
you,
just crap.
you join the military, you
Who
have
owns
that.
what land? How does anybody own any land anymore? How can we even say we own any land anymore? I like the idea of
This,
borders, but really, you live for like 90 years. You own land because you paid somebody else for it.
maybe that's what'll happen once we fully convert the Aquarian Age. There won't be any borders. There won't be any country. There won't be. But the fact is, if Atlantis was a continental nation, Atlantis was the world. Very much so, like what we're talking about going to, in a sense. Which there was a capital, but Atlantis, what they say was Atlantis was pretty much the whole known world. There were just states all over the place. So, is that what we're trying to
Well,
head
it's
to?
like
Is the same, say,
there could have been more in the north and south, and so you can take boats to continental ranges, but you didn't need really deep sea boats when you could have, like, along the coast of line
hmm.
from Africa all
But you
up
know
to the
what?
top.
I find it really
So,
hard to believe that it was a continental Atlantis. It's just the way people run things. You can only be so far unless they have massively good telecommunication, maybe with the pyramids or some kind of whatever they had, some kind of airwave
uh,
system or something. But you can only go so far before you can really control this neighbor from so far away. Because that's another thing with America. People try to make it a two-vote ballot system. You can't control everything perfectly because
yeah,
people in a coastal city aren't going to be able to be run as well as people in a land mass city based upon how they hunt or fish. This one fishes more, this one hunts more, this one has more agriculture. You can't have the same laws for the city as you do in a rural area.
on top of tons of materials.
Like if you come up
Exactly.
if you come up
Everybody
here to
votes for their best.
Wisconsin, like you come up here to Wisconsin and you're driving around and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so horrible. They hunt all those bambies and they hunt the deers." If you didn't hunt them, which now we have a
Yeah.
massively higher rate of deer hitting cars, you're going to get yourself killed by all these deer hitting the cars that aren't hunted. You'd think the wolves and all that hunt them, sure, but they're not as the population is lowered as before. So when they try to make states for gun laws here that don't work in another area because there's not that much hunting over in Rhode Island compared to Wisconsin, and they're like, well, they got to have the same laws. It's not going to work here. They have
Yeah.
different agriculture. We have different fauna. We have different kind of land. We have different everything. So
Yeah.
when you spread out and you go to this place and that place, try to make a law for here and there, and you think you're going to control it all, every place is different. You can't have a perfect
Yeah, but
system
I
for
said that
one guy
before, that you
rules
need
everything. You just can't.
systems of government, and taxes should just be paid up the line. That you pay just a group that controls 100 pays a group that controls another 100, and that 100, and it just keeps going up the line. You don't
If you even had a
your
tax
group, you
system,
just pay
I
a
don't
large,
know. I think
and then based on it all goes from there of how much each place is taxed and all that.
the only tax system we need is military, hospitals, firefighter,
Okay.
maybe police.
This is gonna get way too
And
technical.
roads. That's about it. I don't think anything else. I don't know.
Are you gonna say that all position jobs are just
Hmm?
for the good of the
Yeah.
do it for 4 years, take off from your business? That's how to be, honestly.
I don't know,
They-
Thomas.
I'm doing well in my business. I'm gonna run a political office.
Yeah,
I
and
believe in term limits
the
for
thing is,
for
the thing is, the way that they
sure.
the way that they stated initially, and the way it should be, according to United States, is that they're supposed to be public servants. They're not supposed to be these giant monoliths.
Yeah. That Citizens United ruined everything pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Frank. Like, I think, you know, I personally believe in universal basic income, and I think taxes are no longer really necessary because we have everything's computerized now, and they should just really computerize the productive capacity of what's being produced, the supply and demand. They can almost pretty much like make it accurate. You don't really need to incentivize people to have to work anymore. Um, so you just basically, just vote for policy about like, okay, I'm going to vote for you because you support this monetary or fiscal policy, and
Hmm.
it's no longer about like incentivizing you through your tax base. But as far as like what you were talking about earlier, federalism versus like uh, local government and all of that, like I'm more a co-confederate like you, where I think ultimately I think we're going to head toward co-confederation, where it's like more city states that have their own government, but they're
Hmm.
all under world auspices, and it's just about human rights that have to be like
Hmm.
followed. Everybody's free to do what they want. Nobody can like there's no laws against you um, to do what you want. You have to figure it out for yourself, kind of thing. And then but the taxes and all of that, like the city state will kind of determine that. So if you think of places like
I mean,
Singapore or
I
like that,
agree that the taxes from Oregon should help Louisiana if Louisiana gets hit with a massive like hurricane or something.
like an
People
emergency
should pitch
fund.
in.
Yeah,
To a degree,
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody's emergency fund from everybody should be able to cover. You say to a degree. What happens if New York gets hit by a meteor?
yeah,
Now we have a real collapse in society if we don't have funds. I
Well,
mean,
I
COVID
think
taught me
there's going
that.
to be, I
Not
think
just
there'll be
about being
people that
proper.
help
It's
out.
about the fact that we didn't have any reserve in almost anything. And it's not just about reserves of we had no assembly line. We had no panic system. Humans itself, we don't function like ants.
Hmm.
We function independently, especially in the age of Aquarius. We're
Yeah, probably more
all
so.
doing our own thing. We all think we know a little bit secret of a plan. If shit hits the fan, everybody will scatter and have their own strategy
And
of what they think
I
is the
see
best
that
way to survive.
with what they put out with symbolism a lot of the time too. With oh, be a part of this organization, a beehive nest. You want to be a part of the hive, worker
yeah,
bees. It's like, okay, so
yeah,
you don't want to be individual. You just want to be part of a network. With that sort of thing. So I see that with the symbolism that they do with their ads or icons, things like that, and it just makes sense. Like, okay, that's not what I want. That's not who I am. I'm not going to do that. So, I don't sign up for anything like that. Uh, but like with the taxes and what we're talking about with like how structures should be set, um, that's a touchy issue because I was just to throw in a little curveball here. I wanted to say that I think I understand why certain systems want to run the way they run. And I run a multiplayer game, and I've been running it for years. And every time we get a new person coming in, they always tell me, like, well, what if you tried this? And what if you tried this? I tried that. We've tried that. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And they're like, come on, we got to try it. It's me now. It's different. Fails every time. Just fails. And just because, and the fact is, like, for this particular game or this system, I've done it so many times. I practice it for about 20 years. I've been playing it. Like, I know it intimately. Like, versus, like, maybe a politician coming in, like, oh, I've tried this for, like, 3 years. I know what's going on. And he really doesn't. So I can see how societies don't want to change things because the way things have been going, they've run through the numbers. They've tried this out. It just didn't work. It doesn't work. And everybody wants to fight it until the point of collapse or breakage. And then they realize it doesn't work. And then somebody takes over. That's why, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, happens a lot. It's because a new person comes in. They're like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do this differently. And then as soon as he gets in, he's like, oh my gosh, I can't change it. and then you get all these
you people.
Get
back
all these
to
people.
work.
These people are just like that.
People are going to be small. I tell them to do it. I tell them to do something.
My point is, who's actually going to change it? Who's versus all these people saying, well, I'm the new thing, I'm the better thing. Who is that? Who is that?
We don't know. Well, listen, so another topic about education.
Yeah.
3-year-old higher education, pushing our, they say, doing well.
They say what?
Point. Should you be shoving education down to 1-year-olds, or should you be letting them their physical motor, how to balance and catch themselves?
Oh, absolutely. You let
choking me.
You let the babies grow. You don't throw them in school immediately.
Strategy on raising a child in education, because it's all education. Telling them what you want to tell them. Hide. Should you lie to them? Should you downright lie to them? And how well should you lie to them? You're the parent. It's as you said earlier, what to do with the child. I don't dispute you. I think you have a valid argument. It's like I even said, it's not my place to pick what somebody else is doing, so long as they're not oppressing somebody else, I guess, from doing it. And it's just it gets touchy when you start versus, I guess that's.
Are we going back to that topic?
I think we are. Well, maybe not.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I don't think there's a lot of space
education.
Because I don't have a lot of concern about it, because I think that if you raise your children with a really good sense of critical thinking, and you give them options to help them learn how to think for themselves, then they'll probably turn out fine. Okay. Yeah. And all the other parents, I don't worry about what they're doing. Like, they got to figure it out. Okay. If I was worried about everybody, that 1 or 2 transsexual, whatever, that ruin their genitals, then I'd have to worry about everybody, because people make mistakes all the time, right? With all kinds of stuff. I just want to worry about my family. I want to worry about me, and let everybody else figure it out for themselves. And I think that's the way it best works. But Frank,
I guess I'm saying, I'm saying more like patterns and stuff, like teaching our kids at 1-year-old patterns and like, should we be giving them school? Should we be sitting them down for 3-4 hours a day and be doing flat
1-year-olds? Not 1-year-olds. At a certain age, when they start to conceptualize the idea of people in groups.
1.5-year-olds sometimes naming off every state because you spent the time studying it to them.
Yeah,
because they wanted to.
Kids are like parrots.
They wanted to, but it's like the age of consent.
With
honestly,
you can show them 27 images over and over again and brainwash their minds into believing almost anything.
Well, again, you just teach them critical thinking so they can know for themselves, like to determine, like,
Yeah.
does that make sense or not? Okay, and don't worry about the rest. If you want to teach your kids how to do the alphabet at 1 year old, that's you're their father. It's your business. So
Japanese
another parent
culture
want
would
to do
disagree
something
with you,
else.
and they would,
That's their
you know what I
business.
mean?
Okay? I don't
They
care.
would
Do it.
they would tell you
As a matter of fact, it
whip
helped
them
me
in
out
shape, and if
because
they
then my child will have the upper hand, right? Because they're like messing up their kid, right? So I'm not worried. You do you, I'll do me. But as far as like what you were saying earlier about Frank, like you were saying, like you made some really awesome points. Something you said, and I really want to comment on it. Can you remind me what you were just earlier talking about? It sparked me back to it. Um, gosh.
Give me a waypoint.
God, I was sure. Really wish I could remember. Oh yeah, yeah, about decentralization and the government and all of that. You were talking about, you know, uh, all of that, but we were going on to taxes, and then we went from there. Uh, gosh,
With
something you
this
really
I
said I
think
thought
the
was such a
Atlanteans
good.
have a government.
with the strategy with how they kind of see how things work and they don't work. They've tried it so many
Oh yeah,
times, and
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, they
Something like that.
you get a new guy in, and he's just gonna basically, and you see this with presidents going in. The new guy that hasn't done anything before, he's got all these ambitious ideas, and he looks like the greatest candidate. That's why the presidency flips so much all the time. It
Right, right.
doesn't really stay one solid color. It ends up happening, and I see this, and it's not perfect, but a lot of times it ends up happening like that. The incumbent coming in that's got all these new ideas. He's going to change everything. He's going to do all these things. He's never actually sat in office. But the president that's already in there, sitting in office, is seeing how it's running, and he's got to kind of let it run the way it's running because it's running efficiently right now. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For our presidency, it's if it ain't broke too hard, don't fix it. So that's kind of how it's been running. But you get the new guy coming in. He's got all these aspirations and stuff, and as soon as
Yeah,
he gets in office, you don't see that much of a change. Sometimes you
right.
do. Sometimes you see a lot.
Yeah,
But most of the time, most of the presidents getting in are just, doing
yeah,
that, and then nothing happens. So they get everybody all hyped up, and, big nothing burger. That's what
yeah,
happens with the office because when they get in, the president is just a face. Everybody thinks, oh, okay, he's got a stamp, he can do some big things, big ticket things, but he's just a face. There's military strategists behind him, the top military defense department. There are heads of state that are in there. There's so many other people that are major players that are like, this is the way it's going, and this is what's working. And he can fight all that if he wants to, but it's an uphill battle. And he's only
yeah.
got 4 years to do half the
Right.
stuff that he even wants to do.
Yeah,
So by the time he gets in there, he's just like, well, they kind of have pull. They kind of know what they're talking about. This is the way it's been working. We tried this a million times. It doesn't work that way. We can't change it unless we either try some PR or we try something like that, but it could take years. So a lot of them
yeah,
just get in, they look nice, they sit on their hands, and they say they did this and they say they did that, and
yeah,
new boss, same as the old boss. So I'm just saying,
yeah.
like strategy
Didn't Putin
wise,
say that?
it ends up going like that, and we get all these talking heads saying what could happen, why it's going to
Yeah.
happen, and they're just going down the same rhetoric that any other talking head would do. It's like listening to a sportscast where they're going to
Yeah.
talk about this professional sports athlete or that professional sports athlete, and they're just going to be like, well, he could do this or he could do that. They don't know. They're
Yeah.
just commentating on the fact that they don't know,
Yeah.
and when presidents get in, or if somebody that's in charge of something, they're trying to do something, even with my game that I've been doing for years, you can only do it a certain way. One country has less knights. One country has less monsters. One country has less rune. One country has less this, and one country has less that. And you try to mix it up too hard, you make one other country too weak, too deficient, and it doesn't run efficiently.
Yeah.
So the way I have it set up is like, yeah, they all have, their strengths and weaknesses, but I can't do something to one particular micro aspect because it's going to change the entire macro aspect of the battleground, and as far as making a fair game to play. And
Mm.
for our country, we have to make a fair game for all of us to play, even though we do individual things to lift ourselves up or make ourselves better. a lot of the time that's kept in secret to ourselves so that we actually have some kind of advantage, because if you give away all your secrets, you have no secrets, you have no keys, you have no nothing left to for yourself to grow. So you have to keep some things to yourself here, the way it's run, in order to grow. Or we go to a complete socialistic perspective and you just get any job, you know. But then there comes, you know, then we go on a different avenue with
Yeah.
that. So I don't know, I hope I explained some of that. I don't know if
Yeah.
I
Well,
veered
the way
off
I
a bit,
kind of
but
think of it is like it's like you said, the president is just a figurehead. It's just symbolic of you know, like pointing in a sort of direction. We're going to kind of sort of go this way, whereas the other one say no, we're going to kind of go sort of that way. So it's just symbolic, but where the action happens is sort of like the collective, right, all together, and the little things they do, the experts, whatever,
yeah.
and the momentum of the way things are moving that have been moving for several years before that. What I think of is more, it doesn't really matter because it's on the meta level that matters. Like at the
Mm-hmm.
meta level, whatever God has planned for humanity, it's going to happen. And there's going to be change, okay? And if
Mm-hmm.
you try to force that, it's going to happen like incrementally, or it's going to happen dramatically. And the way
Mm-hmm.
it happens dramatically is it happens through natural disasters, whatever disease, like we had COVID, or it happens incrementally for the most part. Otherwise, you try to push it, it ends up with war, all right? And so that's why I think like it doesn't really ultimately matter, like you're saying, because God really is going to be the one that determines sort of like what's going to be the next sort of stage humanity gets
And
ushered into, right?
that's where I wanted to talk to you about the Gnostic aspect, because is the Archon going to war to make his way, or is that God going to war to make his way? Now, when I mentioned supernatural before, in supernatural, Chuck, who's God, is a hands-on kind of God. Not always. He likes to write and just kind of stay hands-off-ish. But when you see in a macro level, he's hands-on. Micro, hands-off.
Mhm.
But anytime something goes wrong, he'll appear and he'll help out the two main characters to get where they're going, because he really likes these two main characters. So
Mhm.
that's where I've been trying to figure out, is it the angel that controls this world trying to make it go a particular way so that it always sort of goes downhill, or what? Is it God testing us to make us stronger? You know, what that's always been kind of my, like, what is it?
Dilemma.
You know, what could it be? Because, you know, if it was always for the betterment, then all we have to do is think about the benefits of the creator loving us and caring for us, and things will just get better. Right? I would imagine, you know, you always praise him for everything he's done well for you, and things just get better. Or is it
It is
always
that easy. Yeah, I don't
or
know
is
why
it
people
always
don't
a,
want to do it.
or is it a test like Job? Like, no matter what you do, you know, devil's like, no matter what you do to him, you know, I'm gonna get you to turn. No, I can do anything to him I want to, and he's still gonna love me. You know,
Mhm.
that's always been my question, my dilemma. That's why I kind of thought a little more along the Gnostic line. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't like the hand in my life scenario, because it feels like some things have just not good. Like, I feel like I wasn't steering the ship that way, and this ship is like, no, 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 I don't want it, and then it goes that way.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I feel like I'm trying to explain this, and I feel like
no, no.
maybe I went off.
Well,
Or
and if you're talking about the Gnostic model, it's actually both. So the part that God is is the part of free will, and the battle is the battlefield of trying to make it so you don't have free will. And the combination of the two brings about humankind's evolution toward ultimate free will. So
hmm,
when we came here, the Gnostics explained that we lost total free will. We were chained and bound into total control. And everything is about trying to get back to total free will. So the way, I'll just say it shortly because I'd love to hear what Brad has to say on this, um, would be like think of it as a maze, right? What's predetermined is the actual, everybody has to go into the maze. There's a door we go into, and that everybody's going to go out that door at the other end of the maze. But there's an infinite number of pathways to take within the maze. You're the one who decides how you're going to take the maze. So that's the whole trial, right? That's the trial part. But God always intended us to eventually leave the maze. So in that sense, it's not okay. When we talk about God, there's two gods in Gnosticism. There is really only one God, but there's the God of this world, which is the demiurge, or the archons and the archons, and then there's the aeons and the true Father, Mother, the monad, which just totally gave you free will. And we, as moral agents, independent moral agents, decided to come here so that we could sort of do a video game, so that we could learn what it's like to be limited, and how can we get out of that limitation?
Can I add to that at the end
Yeah.
here? When Jesus said you can either choose to be sons of God or servants, I think that's where he was leading the conversation to. I don't think that they understood at the time. You could either choose to go with the flow, or you could choose to make your own decisions towards the right path. And
Absolutely.
I think going towards the right path was being a conscious person, because I think a lot of people at that time were not conscious. They just did what they were told because they were just kings and queens. Everybody was in charge. Somebody was in charge of you. It doesn't matter if you're a free person or a prince or something like that. Unless you're the king himself, you are not. You don't have a lot of rights. You might think you do. I'm sure that some of them thought they did, but if you wanted to be a soldier, you're under the command of the military. You have to move in with them. If you're a free person, you still have to either pay your taxes or you have to be loyal to the country you're with. You can't just get up and go where you want to go anytime you want to go unless you have some specific business. So I think at that time it was extremely controlled. And I'm not going to say we don't have similar aspects in this life too. I'm not going to go down that road. But what I wanted to say was the servant or the son.
Yeah.
I think that's where Jesus was going with that. You have the choice, and if you you can make the choice because other people made it for you, or you can make the choice yourself as a family member.
I like how you said that, because like when you allow others to make the choice, you're making a choice to allow them to make the choice. So that's interesting how you said that.
Yeah. So that's where some of this confusion comes in with like trying to understand like how are people going to be? Do you let people do this? Or do you let people do that?
Right.
And Jesus said, don't judge other people. And it gets kind of hard and it gets a little skewed because, we already have certain things set in place. And it's like, we kind of want to keep some of those things going because some of those things just work. And if they work and you tried them other ways and they didn't work the other way, then,
But there's already the
you
thing
know,
though, Frank, is there's already a fail switch in place, and that's the what is going to prevail is the true Father. That is not going to fail. Like
mhm.
there's no that's not going to fail. So you need not doubt or worry that if you entrust God to take care of it, all of it, that's where faith comes in. You can see the world go to pot. You don't have to step in and try to save it. The only salvation is you save yourself. And if everybody starts to think that way, then there's no one to save, right? Because everybody's saving themselves. So
Mhm.
I
I
guess
guess,
the thing is, I'm more the opposite thinker
mm,
of it all. I believe that this universe is the free will. We're not at the technology of it, but I think that there's anything capable in this part of the universe. I think that the other side that I was mentioning before, and like the tree idea, that is just light. That's the opposite of free will. You're just under God's command and rule. You're giving yourself back to God, and you don't have your free will anymore. You're God's. It's not servant. You're choosing to do this. You're the son. Servant doesn't want to be a servant to somebody. A son, you have to have a son. You have to have someone that's willing to sacrifice his own to the higher principle, and the only higher principle is God. You can choose to be in this world and have your free will, and it can go as far and far where you can probably do almost anything capable. It's an interesting universe we have, but that's just how I believe it. That you're that's the way to give that up is to go here. Your ability, what you want. How I see it, anyway.
Yes, that's very interesting. Yeah.
See,
Hmm.
I mean, I corny to put it be like if you put yourself into everything of paradise and sacrifice that.
You put everything into
I mean,
paradise?
you say if you paradise, whatever it is, you feel like you're says you're for me, come to me. You know, you paradise, would you would say paradise enough?
I wish I could understand what you're saying, but you were so
And
broken up, I can't make sense of
Yeah,
it.
you broke up a second there.
I'm saying that if you live in everything you said,
I
would
think
you
you're
leave everything? I'm too broken.
yeah, you're breaking up a bit here. I can't really hear what you're saying.
Bummer. I don't
Um,
know. I can try to just turn off someone else's Wi-Fi. But
I don't know. You're trying to say that living in paradise here is, or um, living in paradise is different than how it is here? Is that what you're?
Um, I'll
I'm
just
turning off other
respond,
Wi-Fi.
Robert. Just interject anytime, Brad. But I'm gonna just respond to what you said earlier about God is asking us to give everything to Him, right? To God, right? And then to give everything is the whole purpose of going back, on the other side, heaven, whatever you want to call it, right? And that when we go there, it's all about just totally serving God and worshiping God. And I know that many people do have that paradigm of understanding, the Bible and whatever, and that's fine. Like I don't want to disrespect that. The only thing I could say is, uh, I think the world we live in is the world of sacrifice. Like, think about when you um, just get up in the morning and you have breakfast. Well, a chicken, whether it wants to or not, is sacrificing its babies to you so you can have eggs. And then the chicken will go and eat a worm, and whether that worm likes it or not, right? It's going to be sacrificed. And so what I think is this world, which is governed by the demiurge, is a world of sacrifice. That's why Christ was sacrificed. Don't think that was God's blueprint. I think that was the demiurge's blueprint, because he didn't want Christ to spread his message, and then the demiurge would lose control ultimately. Uh, when we go to the Pleroma, Gnostics would argue differently. They would say that there is no death, and so if there's no death, how can there be sacrifice? There's just a place of not gnosis, understanding, and this whole concern about, like, are we going to be bored or play harps all day? Like, Christ himself said that, what the Father has in store with you is unimaginable. It is beautiful. It's beyond anything that description, anything that you could have. I mean, even think about the world, the life that we're living now. Like, who could come up with that, right? And it's filled with
Mm-hmm.
beauty. Yeah, it's filled with suffering too. But what's in store for us is going to just totally blow our minds.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think that that's all gonna be like Earth 2.0 when God shows us how to do it, shows us the right way to grow the Earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to believe that heaven's just going to be where we all get our own like planet to play terraform on,
Or like the
and we
Mormons.
want to imagine people, and it's
Well,
just,
we're become aliens in outer space, and we just
well,
zoom
I
around and
mean, I'm just saying that like okay, if say you go to judgment, and God's like, like, we're gonna go through your judgment. You're gonna be here for a while, and then in the end, he's like, but in the end, you've made the team. You believed in my son. You've done what I've asked of you for the most part. Or for the least of parts in that matter. And like, I'm gonna give you this. Here's your prize. Like, here's heaven. You can come in, and we're gonna let you live eternally. And like, do you think that your mindset's still going to be the same? How much of your mindset is based on sin in the first place? I mean, when you look at it and you ogle another woman, isn't that sinful in the first place? Well, I guess you don't necessarily believe that in the first. So I guess that would be you would probably be a hard person to sell on that one. But
well,
you know what
I
I'm saying?
I
It's
think
just
it
like,
I think it depends on what your position is. So if you're married, that's when Jesus was like, well, if you're looking at another
right.
woman, if you're not married, well, I mean, if you've got like,
But
I
if
think I
they're
think
married,
poly.
what if they're married?
Well, if they're married, then that's because they're married.
Right. I
You're
guess that's the
you're
point because I'm married. I forget that.
yeah. Well, like Jesus said, here's a few things that I have to try to understand. The few things that did confuse me,
For
even reading,
gluttony.
because I like to look at a lot of things to try to find, is there a contradiction somewhere? Um, there's one part where the prostitute was going to be stoned by the men, and then he drew a line and he said, or I think he was just drawing in the sand. I don't know if he drew a line, but he said, "Those who didn't
Yeah.
sin cast the first stone." Uh, you know, and so they couldn't obviously stone her. But I think to save her life, he did that. But on the other hand, he also says, like, if those of you that think these impure thoughts, you've already committed the sin of it. Uh, the thing is, sometimes, like, I think that's a big question. Like, you might get a thought in your head, but it might not be your own thought. Is it? How do you dictate where this thought is coming from? Is it from the lower forms? Is it from you? What's the deal with that? And then if you did, what do you do about it?
Yeah.
You know
Um,
that's
before-
it,
mm,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, my response would be when Christ said that, he was not suggesting, in my opinion, based on what I understand, um, that you try to get to a place where you have no thoughts of women, right?
Hmm.
What he was actually suggesting is the opposite. He's suggesting that nobody can achieve that. So I'll give you an example. Uh,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing he told the woman, the same harlot, when nobody could throw a stone. And he said to her, "Go and sin no more." Now imagine, can anybody go and sin no more? No, of course not. So our misunderstanding of sin is not about what we do in our lives, where we eat this, or we have sex with this person, or how many people we have sex with, or whether we cheated on our husband or our wives. All those things are just going to impact us personally. God doesn't care about those things. He cares about it so much it affects you, but he's not putting some, Santa Claus list of, oh, this is bad and this is good. Sin is about misunderstanding, missing the mark of understanding about what God really intends for you. So what
Hmm.
Christ is effectively saying to her, you don't have to be a prostitute anymore. You don't have to live this life. So what he's saying sin means missing the mark of understanding of
Hmm.
what God really intended for you. That's all that means. It doesn't mean like you broke something, God gets angry and puts it down and so now you're going to burn in hell. It's just simply saying, okay, you misunderstanding what your true purpose is. Your purpose is not to go around and use your body to make money. Have more faith that God can do more glorious things for you.
Hmm.
That's what he was basically saying to the woman.
Yeah.
So you're saying when was Elijah understood his purpose, that's why he went to heaven? He understood the purpose
Yes.
of who he is. And
Exactly. When you finally get an understanding of what your mission is, what the seed God planted into you, what your purpose is, and you carry that forth and you bring that about, then you've completed your mission here. And then that's when you go back to the pleroma. That's to miss it, the mark of that, to do anything opposite of that is going to bring you agony and it's going to take you down a path of destruction. That's what Thomas talks about. He says
Hmm.
that if you bring forth what's within you, you will have found salvation. But if you don't bring forth what's in you, it will damn you. It will destroy you. So that's all you have to figure out. That's your path. That's your walk, is to figure out what God brought you here for. The seed in you. And that's what Christ talks about, the sower and the seed and the farmer. That's what the whole thing is. That's what he talks about, the penny. Because God is presenting you an accomplishment, a gift that he gave you to bring to the earth so that humanity could learn from you. Every one of us, uniquely. And your thing is to cultivate and grow that and bear many fruit. And once you've completed that, then it's your time to go back.
Yeah, it does kind of make sense. Didn't you say earlier, Brad, or did I hear from somebody else? I thought it was from you, though, that we're only...
two people.
You say a
Think
lot
more
of things,
yourself.
and I think you probably said it, but
I have random things pop in my head all the time.
there's times you say some pretty amazing stuff that...
Very profound, very profound. It's like, wow, where'd you come up with that one?
Yeah, but I was gonna say,
Like, I like to. We all have the answers. You just gotta pull them out through the right question.
yeah. Where was I going with this? It's we were just about the.
Kind of like.
I was gonna say the Christmas season, but now I just forgot. Dang it! Like, I'm so in depth with this.
Well, before we started go down our thing, he was breaking up. He was talking about something. We were just going on that tail end of what heaven is and stuff, and you were saying something else, Brad, but you were so broken up we couldn't make out what you were saying. Do you remember kind of like how to pick up from that, or you
I
remember
wish I
that?
did. I was very intrigued what you were saying. That's all I've been thinking about for the last 5 minutes. It's gonna be tough to remember what I was previously saying.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
If only we had that. If only we had that machine that we wanted to invent that would go back in time and tell
The
us
time
exactly what we were
machine?
talking
Yeah,
The time
that's
machine.
what I
Also
need. I
had
need
a
to get my time
no,
machine
not
Yeah.
just
back,
a
and I
time
can do
machine.
this all over
They
again.
can just tell us what we
Just
said, like a
so we can get
stenographer.
everything you said, so I'm not just sitting going,
Yeah.
Oh my
huh?
And we
gosh!
can go to
Imagine if somebody
What?
Atlantis
invented
too
that.
and see if they really celebrate Christmas,
Could you
What?
imagine if somebody invented the stenographer that everything you say just always gets recorded, stenographer style? Just a device that writes it,
You know,
doesn't
you
even
know,
record it.
I
It
think
writes it in a dang book,
to make my
chapter
point. What?
2. It knows how to pick it up.
Okay, well, I'll tell
Awesome.
you. I'll tell you the little secret to the reason why I wanted to title it this, so you guys can both kind of get the hint. Um, did they practice the Atlanteans? Did they practice the same exact type of way of being, of gift giving and loving and caring for each other around the solstice because of the fact there's going to be, less food, and they try to find a way to cheer things up and make things better, and it did improve people's lives.
Any evidence of this
I'm not
society.
saying that it was better than what we have as Christmas, because obviously Christmas we have like a giant meaning to it, versus back then it was just celebrating and just enjoying each other's company, which today it's kind of the same thing too. But Jesus being the main focal point and understanding his life and sacrifice. What do you guys think? Do you think there was a connection there? Do you think that's been going on for
I
such
don't
a
know. It's
long
just
time?
it's a complete thought question. I have zero evidence, zero research on that. But maybe, yeah, maybe. Doesn't necessarily have to be the solstice. That's like asking if they gave birthday parties
Well, the solstice is usually the
Indeed,
20th to 21st. It's close to where, Christmas is and all that. I'm just wondering if is it just in our nature to do this? We get
I
close
think
to
they
a point
probably
of
had bigger food gatherings for sure. They used to love having those like groups of everybody bringing their best foods and having big feasts.
yeah.
So a lot of old tribes did it too. They would just like make big feasts.
Hmm.
The bigger, the better. Did they have an ultimate feast after this? Probably, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, for sure, yeah. And did they give gifts to each other amongst the feast? Well, I suppose if there was alcohol involved, it gets easier to be like, just give it to him.
Yeah.
Love that guy. You know?
So I think you're onto something, Frank, because the way I see it is, think about it this way. Um, you got the summer and you're growing the plants and everybody's planting different stuff. Maybe Brad will plant corn and I'll plant, I don't know, whatever I plant, and then you plant whatever you plant. And then we do our harvest. It's October, November. And then it comes around, November, and it turns out I got a little more corn than I want. And I got to figure out, like, what do I do with this?
Hmm.
And so I'm generous of this big harvest, right? Like, it's been a good season. I feel very generous. And everybody
Hmm.
else does too, because we're all in the same place.
Oh,
Really, it's like
yeah.
really rained here, right? And
Hmm.
then so it comes around wintertime, and the harvest is over, and
Mm.
we're all like, hey, let's celebrate together. The harvest is over now. We did all hard work and we get to relax. And it's like, yeah, let's celebrate. Hey, I'm gonna bring the corn. You bring that. It's like I got this extra.
No, 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 no.
See?
Yeah, no,
So,
I hear what you're
so,
saying.
so they waited
I
till
don't,
the
cut you off.
last day when they
Hmm.
knew it was gonna come over and they
When
were
they
gonna
knew
come to
their
spring,
inventory well and everything that was extra,
and
Yeah,
they
then
just gave to everybody. No, just divide up and give it to everybody.
yeah. There you
And
go.
then it's all like it's
And
as
then
if
you
they're
got
giving
it.
gifts.
You cracked the code.
that's the point.
Yep.
Oh,
You cracked the code. We
But that
cracked the
was when
code,
people
man.
had organized inventory.
there we go,
Yep.
everybody. There's the answer. We figured
Yep.
it out.
That's awesome.
So they most likely did have Christmas just with, like I said, palm trees
Thanks,
and
Thomas. That helps
Hey,
clear things
you
up. This
you
this is
you
what we
want
do
to
here.
open it.
This is what we do here. We figure
You
out really hard
open
problems, and we
you
it.
gotta take some pretty wild roads to get to the answer
we
to these
do
guys.
we
Yeah.
do. We have to go this way and that way and this way and that way, and boom.
Yep.
Despite somebody's differences, they make the best eggplant. So
Yeah.
gladly take it.
Oh,
That's pretty
Thomas,
cool.
that was amazing. I can't believe we actually came to that through
Yeah. I
all that
mean,
navigation.
yeah. Wow. I mean, it was pretty cool because I mean, you had most of it already. Like you knew it was like on the tip of your tongue. You were tasting, man. Yeah. It's just like, hey, you're inspiring me. Like, because I know what you're trying to say.
I I love strategy, and sometimes it moves into reality with that.
Yeah.
It's like everything, because it's a simple fact. Everything there's a reason for everything. There's a reason why people
Yeah.
do things, and
Right.
if you just look at it hard enough, it's like, well, you know, even what people were talking about with the Roman
Hmm.
uh, arenas and all that back in the day. Some people think that the vomitorium was people where they vomited, but you find out now that's where they vomited either out from or towards, because it was just a massive group just going "Bleh," and just leaving the arena or something like that. And it came to that conclusion, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I know Brad's.
What
I'm just
Look at
saying.
Brad's
I'm just saying.
you judged me last time, and
I'm just, I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why they word things a
Yeah.
certain way, man.
Right.
You
It's
know.
like Brad's like, did you really have to go there?
And I told
you
him, like,
judged me, and then you make this
I
conversation.
only said that for
That
like
is
a minute. You
completely
talked on 10
unreasonable.
minutes long about, I went. I was like, Brad, can you please not make the sounds too? Which I don't know if you made them, but I'm thinking in my head like.
I always gag every time I think about the time that you told me about the how the Vikings used to spit in a bowl and share it to keep
Oh
their
man,
ice.
Did you see the third?
that's nasty.
Thomas, did you see the 13th Warrior?
No.
I want to say that's accurate though, but they shared their germs by like in the morning they would take this big bowl of
Yeah.
spit and go,
All right, he'll get into detail about it too.
and then one person
Yeah,
would put
there
their
you go.
nose in there
Oh man.
and then
God.
just spit in and share
Should I
the
be-
germs that way and pass the bowl around in the morning, and that was their
You
that's their
want me- you
vaccine.
want me to make the vomiting
Everybody
noise?
vaccinated themselves by giving each other the immunity. Which, I don't know if that was the reason for it. Maybe it was, but it could
Sounds pretty reasonable though.
work that
Yeah.
way, I guess. But yeah, there you go,
Makes me
Brad.
sick thinking about it.
But just think about that in
Appreciate
the
you.
morning when you're making cereal. Okay.
That's why I'm not a Viking.
Well, it just goes to show in the end, none of us, like I said, like you said, the way of God is just so much higher. We live in a world since none of us know the real answer. I mean, we
Yeah.
really shouldn't be judgmental of each other because we're all wrong. All three of us are definitely wrong somewhere, somehow.
Yep.
We're wrong.
What?
So
How
it
dare
doesn't
you,
really matter in the
sir?
long run,
How dare
Yeah.
you?
But we can take some of what Jesus said and try to understand it to the point that we shouldn't be judging each other. We should be judging ourselves and whatever our personal test is that God's put on us. We need
Amen.
to figure it out
Amen to that.
and how to grow from it.
Yeah.
Because it was like judgment. We don't know how judgment's going to be either. It's going to be tailored for us. So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
It's a good take. I like it.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think about a Christmassy thing we should? What would you say people should focus on in the Christmas time? What would be something that I think it's important?
Putting the effort in. Don't just let it pass by you. Taking the time and doing what you know you should be doing. Getting a gift for your friends because they're going to get you something. And you don't want to look lazy and Scroogey and cheap.
Mm.
Dang it, I
Yes.
need to get to the store.
Scroogey. Scroogey. Scroogey's now a word.
I told you I like Charles Dickens, all right?
Oh, okay.
I love that story.
I'm not really sure. I just maybe what was on my mind is that when Christ he said that I come here to fulfill all the laws and the prophets. Like I think of that as meaning kind of what we've been talking about, which is like he's just basically showing his walk is basically humanity's walk and it's different forms, right? And we all different cultures have different ways of doing things, and he basically just epitomized all of it, right, in his walk. In that sense, he fulfilled it, and that's the way I think of Christmas, like that's why, like I think it's more than, it's bigger than just like what we talked about earlier, about why are we giving gifts, but it's also ultimately really is Christ is like bringing that whole story together, right, to help us remember that we're all in this together, right? So that's kind of my takeaway. So I don't know. How about you? How about you, Frank?
Yeah,
Yeah, Frank.
I was gonna kind of go about
Go
with
go
what you-
last, Frank, and come up with something better than us both there.
best for
Come on,
last.
Frank.
Yeah. All right.
You're the best, man.
All right. Okay. So, be the light, and I'm just copying what Brad always says every time. And just
That's
you
so
know,
I can't tell why Brad's laughing though. Is he like platitude, man? Starting with platitude.
well, he says this at the end of the show every
Gotta
time.
put the extra mile in.
Oh, is that what he? Okay. I see.
No, I can say that it's a hard journey to understand everybody. You can understand yourself, but everybody wants to look at everybody else because it's what they want to do. Because you worry about yourself. You worry about how they look at you.
Exactly.
So you're worrying about everybody else. You know, more than you're caring about who you are. And so a lot of the time you get to a point in your life that you start to look within. You look at your own perspective. You look at your own self. You look at your own introspective. And you start to say, what the hell am I doing with my life? You know, you kind of get to that point where you're just like, what's going on? What did I do? You know, there's all these things I messed up. There's all these things I worried about. I could have done this. I could have done that. And then you realize things that you failed at. You realize the successes you've had, and it just comes to a head where you start thinking, I have to focus on who I am, because that's what people want to see. They don't want to see what they want to see. They want to see who I am. You know, and I wonder if that is why.
Coach Carter.
What?
Coach Carter. The speech that the guy said. Should I find it? Oh, it's so great. I'll find it.
Okay.
Don't lose your thought, Frank, because you got me cliffhanging over here. I wonder if something or another you're gonna say.
Oh, well, just talk a little more about that, but it comes down to who you are going to be based upon who you are inside. And I just watched with my kid, and my kid loves Kung Fu Panda. I don't know if you ever saw Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
But I was amazed she loves it, because I watched it with her when she was little, and I loved the show. It was done very well. But the one part with the turtle at the end where Master Oogway, I think he's the turtle sensei or whatever, he's like, he's talking to the other sensei who's there, who's this panda. Not panda. What is he, a marsupial? I can't remember what kind of animal he is, but yeah. He's talking to the other master there. It's not the main master, but he's talking to the other master. He's like, I can control when this seed is planted, and open the ground and put it in there. And then Master Uguay goes, well, even if you can plant the seed, even if you wish for the seed to be an apple, a peach seed is always going to be a peach seed. You'll never get an apple. Once you understand that, you're going to be, once you know who you are and what you are, you have to become what that is. And then you can grow into a massive tree. Other people can wish you to be something else, but if you're a peach seed, you're going to be a peach tree. You're not going to be an apple tree. So
you can graft apples onto the tree
awesome.
And grow apples.
You can.
Anyway, he says,
but that's not you.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. You playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking, so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we consequently give other people permission to do the same. Consciously give other people permission to do the same.
Is that Mandela?
No, it's movie Coach Carter. I don't think Mandela did it.
Oh, okay.
I think the guy wrote it, but
wow.
But it's a good. It's a point that you're most afraid to shine. You're most afraid to try harder and do things, to step up to the plate and do better. It's easy to hide. It doesn't do any good. So we all got to be better. Do the best we can.
Man, you guys are just
like
really touching me tonight.
No, because you know what I was gonna say to you. I hate when people wait till New Year's to make a resolution. Start today.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people say, "Oh, I got one more week. Smoke those cigarettes." Till my New Year's resolution, then I'm gonna quit. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I guess so.
But that reminds me of.
Like I said.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it reminds.
No, I just saying.
Go. No, you go ahead. You go first, Brad.
I was just saying, just try not to be judgmental though. Again, that's all.
Yeah.
God bring
I
back.
was just gonna say that reminds me of what we all been talking about when Christ said, you know, don't hide your candle, right?
Yes.
No one puts a cloth over a candle and expects it to shine. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
did, it would burn the whole house down, basically, right? Because it'd burn the cloth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Put a light in the bushel basket, you'll burn the
Yeah,
bushel basket and the rest of the house.
burn the whole city in
yeah.
Chicago.
You gotta let your light, you gotta let it light, you gotta let it shine.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's scary. It's scary though. I'll tell you that right there. That's scary. But the thing is, like, what you guys are doing here is shining your light. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of courage to come out and just have this kind of dialogue,
Yeah,
and share it with the world.
I'd rather have it more
Well, that's what
unscripted
I'm
and
saying.
to the point.
I love it that
You
we
know.
can have differences and still remain respectful. It's annoying
Mm-hmm.
to push other people to see everybody on all the time. You can you can value somebody's opinion.
Yeah,
You know, what I mean, I might
yeah,
I might have a difference of opinion with the Satanist, but I wouldn't. I
yeah,
still at least listen to what they're gonna
yeah.
say. I mean,
Exactly.
probably wouldn't spend my day going to their church and hanging out with them.
Yeah,
We probably not gonna get along that much, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's whatever. If you had something to tell me, I'd at least hear you. I don't know. It's just people are weird. People are all weird. We're all weird. We're all just trying to find our truth.
We're
mm.
all just weird. Yeah.
That's a good thing though.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of like the whole thing of Aquarius though? Like the idiosyncrasy, you know? That's like
Yeah.
everybody's different, and that's the whole point of
To
Aquarius.
be honest,
It's a good thing.
I don't know what to expect. I see it that Aquarius isn't the time that Jesus is coming back. Everyone wants to look at it like this world is ending. I don't think so. I think that the world's just beginning for us. I think that this is the beginning of our like of our understanding of humanity.
You
Mm-hmm.
got it.
That
I agree with
before our story didn't really start. Before it's just
Yeah.
we were still like
We're,
just trying to survive. There was previous civilizations, but they didn't work out, and just beginning our story.
mm-hmm.
And it might be 10,000 years, but 10,000 years is nothing in the overall scheme of universal
That's
time
very
and
profound,
time.
Brad. Because like Brad, I heard somebody say once, why is the Aquarian Age called the Age of Man? They had all these astrologers up there on this video I was watching, and nobody could really answer it. But I think you just answered it. Yeah, I think that you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's when man finally realizes like who he really is.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's pretty
yeah.
amazing.
Mankind would be like it's probably just a misunderstanding. Just mankind. It's not just mankind.
Yeah, mankind.
That's what he meant,
Humankind.
Brad.
Yeah,
I knew that too.
It's
But yeah,
important that we
yeah,
point that out, though.
yeah.
yeah,
Before was the age of just beginning tools, but now. But it's like I said, it gets very scary. Am I not cutting out anymore?
No,
you're
you've been like really crystal clear for like the last
Dang.
go
15
ahead,
minutes.
have a monologue if you want. We've got you're totally clear
Oh,
now.
I catching up to do. No, I was getting tired anyway. I got to work early. I don't know how long you
Mhm.
guys want to go with this, but
I think we did a lot already. I think we kind of solved the problem. That's what we do. We are Aquarius. We solve the problem, and then we know
there
the
was no
answer, and
problem.
then we're
Not a problem.
well. There really wasn't a
It
problem,
was
but
just
we
Pretty amazing though, like
came to.
how just talking things can bring so much to light, right? It just
Hmm.
is pretty
yeah.
incredible. Just that whole process that God gave us, right? That ability to just articulate and then you just stumble on things you wouldn't otherwise stumble on, This is pretty amazing.
Yeah, if you get group of understanding people together and you have the conversation and you can come to an understanding about a lot of things and kind of
I'm
move
just
forward.
amazed
But
by
that's
how.
that's what Jesus even said. He was going to bring a comforter. When he was talking about coming
Mm.
back, I think what he was saying with coming back was that once we pass on, we're going to see his kingdom, his heaven, and all that sort of thing. The comforter I think came long ago with the spirit coming up and down upon him with all that. But then again, there's other ways of things. But yeah, I think it's really we're not looking for a Jesus specific Jesus to come back to lead us through this future. I think it's going to come down to us as individuals to make the right kinds of choices going forward. If we make the wrong choices, it could turn into a Tower of Babel kind of scenario, which I think the Tower of Babel was just a part of Atlantis. I think that was just
Yeah.
a part of that story.
You know what I think is interesting?
Mm.
Do you? Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if I was
Yes.
interrupting
Hey,
you.
I'd like to hear.
I think two things are interesting. One, frequencies. Even though we talked about this the other day, of how you put sand on a board and you measure it out different frequencies, they'll create different patterns.
Oh yeah.
Very,
Right.
very complicated, complex patterns. I think
Yeah.
that's just truly awesome.
Yep.
Also, I think it's awesome that if you turn pi into just 3 instead of 3.14 by changing what the diameter measurements is, it creates a hexagon, which is the perfect shape of efficiency. That's why the bees make the shape of hexagons, because they can form the perfect, amount. They can get the most material out of it. I think it's like interesting how math and all this exists so majestic. It's a pattern. If you turn pi into 4, it becomes a square. If you turn pi into 3.14 and a bunch of numbers after it,
Mm-hmm.
it turns into a circle, a perfect circle, a circumferential circle. These different shapes that get created
Mm-hmm.
just from
Speaking.
just
Yeah.
that you can mark, that you can turn into, like you said, a language. You can turn it into a written wording that shows true every single time.
That's where the
Like,
power
it's
is.
not, and it's just so amazing how that we're,
Mm-hmm.
we get so far fetched with these telescopes seeing out into space and what we think, black holes are and all that, and it's, maybe we're finding more and more elements now and heavier elements, and it's I don't know, it's just so cool to me.
Yeah.
We know so little about anything. I want to explore more of the ocean, but now I guess that's kind of taboo after that one got destroyed.
Oh no. Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. When
Yeah,
the
it's like,
rich people went to that submarine or whatever it was. Is that what you're talking
no.
about?
Yeah. I heard that was very, very shady though, that like there was not like proper inspection done on that thing, and
Um,
it's a shame.
I want to
It scares
respond
me. People do anything for money.
to what you were saying because it was so profound listening to you about like the sound and the pie and the bees and all that.
Yeah.
Reminded me of like the power of like because we were talking about like just as how amazing it is just to be able to talk about things and you're able to come on to knowledge when you went in not knowing that and then you just sort of like toy with it and then it comes out right. It reminds me of like because when people talk about like where it talks about in the Bible in the beginning God said and then there was and then people are like oh it's just a metaphor. Well, I don't know, maybe it's not because like the power of sound like you're sort of pointing out is just pretty profound. Like it's moving all these little metal pieces into shape just
Yeah.
depending on the frequency. So I think that's really profound what you were talking about. But I want to also respond to
Yeah.
what Frank
And
said.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't want
No, I don't have anything. Go ahead.
to. Frank was talking about. I know we have different opinions on this. I know Brad. Maybe you may or may not believe that Christ comes back literally in clouds or whatever, and that's all good, and I respect that. And Frank maybe has a different understanding of it. But I do remember, like, it sparked in me what you were saying when you talked about that, Frank. It sparked what Christ actually said, because the disciples literally asked him that same question. It's like about the second coming. It's like I'm going to be coming again. It's like so. Well, can you tell us, how you're going to come? When's the end times and all that. Say all these crazy questions, right? That anybody would have. And then Christ said, "Why do you look there? Why do you look in the clouds? Why do you look over there? Do you not know that Christ is within you?" That was his answer about like how are you coming back. So just sort of picking up where you left off, Frank, like you were talking about like the comforter. I'll bring you the comforter. That's kind of the way I understand it as well, like how it's the Christ within us that we all discover, and that in that sense, Christ is coming back, right?
Yeah. He's a part of us. I mean, I think maybe they had the understanding that he was a part of nature and everything,
Yeah.
but I don't think they had the full understanding that he is also just a part of us as well. Like we're all tied together. We're like a giant network of connection. Like it's almost like we're individual neurons firing within a giant brain, and we're all connected in a way like that, It makes me kind of think that's, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but
Makes me think that we're just all not believers, and that when the fight comes on, that those who truly believe in Jesus will have like whatever power they need. And like I don't know, it's just like where's that power now? I can't shoot lasers out of my fingers.
So
I
you
guess
think
I'll
that it's
need to.
possible that it's literally like X-Men superpowers and stuff? Is that what you think, Brad? I don't know. I'm
I
just
I think that the devil, if he chose to bring up demons in this world, like you said about chimeras and all that kind of stuff, I think the devil has the ability to create whatever, just the same as like Castlevania. He can summon beasts, and you know, believe it or not, I think our human body. This is completely now a whole new topic, but I used to believe, I still do, our human body is the best personal, like it's the best design possible. There's no animal on this earth that can beat us. You can argue all that you want with me that a bear is stronger in every which way, but a bear is not more versatile than us. And I think that a perfect trained human could still beat the bear. That the bear's not able to be faster than the human. The human can always predict the attacks of what the bear will do and eventually break the jaw and eventually break the neck, whatever it needs to. The human is strong enough to do that. If he trained his
that
entire
could
life
be the case with the Old Testament
properly,
with
ideally
the Old
humans.
Testament Samson, beating the lion. To beat a lion or a bear would not just strength but skill. You could have all the strength you want in the world, but if you have no skill, you're not going to survive a fight.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So
I'm saying that
maybe in the
we
sense of
don't
the
do
Old
that
Testament
anymore. We don't.
Samson, that kind of proved that point there. I'm Most conventional people, unless they had some tools or something to fight with, to hold the bear off, then yeah. But I see where you're going with it, though. Because they kind of
I'm
did.
just saying that the body is. I mean, if we chose, look, you could argue. The only thing you'd argue with me is, well, what about the gorilla or the chimp? I mean, it's just basically the same as the human body, only larger, and has the ability of its feet to be able to move around. But I've often even wondered, are we even how human are we anymore? That's a whole different. How many times have we been genetically modified over the years and changed? Maybe when God met us initially in the garden, we did look like gorillas, but we were smart. And over time, we just kept evolving our bodies. I mean, look at us now. We ache all the time. 38 years old, we're aching. We're not exactly like primo like human conditions anymore. So I mean, maybe
Well,
it's because we're not swinging from trees like we used to stretch our spinal columns out and get ourselves the proper exercise that we
well,
need to do every single day.
riddle me this then. Um, what
Batman.
happens if we like totally like because as you point out we're superior in every way, our bodies, whatever. What happens if we use that to kill off all the bears, or kill off all the bees, or kill off all the plants? Because, after all, we are the top of the heap, right? So then what?
Then there's
Well, we're
nothing
going to
left.
destroy ourselves.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So like I guess what I don't think of hierarchies. I think of everything has a place and it serves
Like the
its own
Lion King.
function.
Yeah, me too.
So
Hmm.
but if you think about it, like it depends on how you're measuring what superior is. For example, I know you said body, but let's take longevity, for example. Humans do not live that long compared to many species, like whales, for example, who can live 2 or 3, 400 years. You got clams that live 500, 600 years. So are we superior in that sense?
I've heard
Are
that
our bodies
lobsters
really
ne
superior?
Oh, sorry. I heard lobsters never die unless
Yeah,
they're
and
killed.
lobsters never die. Yeah, that's what my understanding. So it really depends on what you're measuring, I think. Like, sure, if you want to talk about the ability to, form words and language and letters and stuff like that and do math, I'm not sus I don't necessarily know that certain animals don't have their own speech. Maybe we just don't understand it. I mean, look at the ants. They're pretty phenomenal in their organizational skills.
Ants are amazing.
Yeah.
We have the
Ants
ability
are by far
to
like my favorite.
dominate. I'll say that. That part I can agree with. I wouldn't say that's necessarily superior. I think it's just a matter of what you do with it, you know.
I'd have to say, what I think we were built for, or I think the reason that we're here, whether we chose to or, I think our bodies are built, but we also kind of chose to come here and live this existence too. Uh, but I think the reason is still the same as it was in the garden. Whatever the reason is for being kicked out or being let go, we were there to maintain the garden. We were gardeners. We were there to maintain the animals, the plants, everything that was in that realm. Whether you people think it's an ethereal realm or it's a physical realm, I kind of think some of it, maybe the initial understanding could have been an ethereal realm, and then maybe there was a physical realm that was, you know, here that people named. It could be any which way for you, but I think initially, for me, it kind of makes sense that we were meant to be gardeners. We were meant to take care of the animals. We were meant to take care of the plants. We didn't get to fully do that with the Old Testament, however that went. But coming to where we are now, we still have that. That is our highest function. We know how to
Yeah.
function mentally to the point that we don't need weapons, we don't need defensive tools, we don't need like shells or scales to protect us, we don't need claws to do it. We don't need any of that. We have the brain, and that's all we need. And we
Trigger, this
maintain.
is when I originally told you that Adam and Eve created the pyramids like 800,000 years ago, which is what that thing said. And then they just used time machines, and they've altered their DNA, and they're like the vampires right now. The shadow organization. Adam and Eve never really died.
That's a
Oh,
fascinating proposition.
Listen,
okay.
the first real sin wasn't that slew Abel. Cain, it was that weren't there to teach their child that you can't kill your brother.
Mm,
Hmm.
fascinating.
Yeah, I
Cain
always wondered,
Cain would
why
have
did he
known
get a
no better.
mark
He
and
thought it was fine.
why did he get a mark and he could wander forever? It was almost
Yeah.
like he was given immortality after he killed, and I
They can only hide for so long as their shadow organization gets them. All right, I'm gonna get assassinated.
I don't
Oh,
know. That's
I'm just
yeah.
you're jumping down roads that I don't know if I can
Yeah.
find all
there's
Um,
no documentation
the
of it, and
footnotes
that's
here,
how you
man.
know it's more true.
I don't know if
Because
I
when
can
you
find the
find stuff
footnotes on
that
this one
doesn't
here.
exist in the real world, it's more true because they don't want you to see it.
You know,
I
that'd
think
be
it's
it.
interesting.
Well, sorry, Thomas. That'd be cool for another topic. Another time. Supernatural stuff. What's real? What's not? You know.
The thing you were saying, Frank, like I think is interesting because that's what we were talking about earlier, is we were talking about um, the whole cultivating things, right? And the
Mhm.
seed and all of that. And I think
Yeah.
you're onto something like about the whole human's purpose is to learn how to grow something, cultivate it and take
The,
care of it. And
I think this planet, this world,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're meant to take care of it. I think there's a lot that's out of our control, but there
yeah,
is a certain amount that is within our control.
yeah.
Because it because the thing is, like, yeah, it's a macro micro thing, but you go into like uh, could humans completely change the planet? Sure, with way too much of something, but then again, how do you know if it's way too much of something until something happens?
Exactly.
If you don't have any previous experience of seeing it before, because if we could map out what happened specifically with the Atlanteans, we would know exactly how far we're going with something before something happens. Otherwise, it's just a lot of theory working on back of
I have a
another
theory
theory,
on that though,
you
Frank.
know.
That
So I think certain things like nuclear
yeah,
bombs going off multiple times, yeah, that definitely does change the atmosphere and changes massive amounts of things. But how many other things we can control?
yeah,
Most of it goes out into space and it gets dispersed into the
yeah.
ether somewhere, and I don't know. You
Sometimes I
know,
wonder though if we weren't meant to remember Atlantis, like maybe it was purposely reset, because sometimes there's certain things that maybe we don't want to know from then. And maybe there's also a fresh sort of refresh button. It's like totally refresh, give us a second, just total empty slate. We just sort of like start all over with a different
yeah,
way of going. You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
possible too.
because the thing is, like, if we knew which other, you can look in games, you can look in lore, and you can look in other things. Atlanteans had automatons, which are
Mhm.
robots. So they had robots. So they were advanced enough that they had robots. Um, People might argue, be like, nah, they were all cave people. I don't believe that. I think that we've gone through highs and lows of civilization, and what we've lost, it's just been melted away. Like if there was a massive blast of heat, it could
Yeah,
have just disintegrated all the metal. So all the metal just turns into liquid, flows into the ground, and then you got to dig it up as ore later on, which turns into like a vein in the ground with metal that gets encrusted in rock, after some time. So if they had all the metal and it got blasted away and there's no more metal, the only thing we could have left is a pyramid of stone. That's all we could have left. Paper, metal, all that stuff, gone. Um, but if we knew that what you're saying, if we knew what happened last time, we might not try to explore those scenarios because we might just say going down that road is going to lead the wrong way. But what if we go down that road and we lead it the right way this time?
correct. Yep, yep.
What if we go down that road and we don't create chimeras? We don't manipulate man into being half fish, half man, and uh, take away their ability to have the same function as a regular human. Like, what if we stop trying to desecrate the vessel that is what it is? Jesus says, "Keep your temple safe." That's you. That's you. Who you are. As a person. Um, that's that's just kind of what I think is the possibilities, or what could happen, or what may have happened, according to a lot of the old, uh, the way they described Atlantis, what people talk about it. Herodotus did describe it. The Raycott Center is very highly potentially where the center of Atlantis was, and then it got washed over with mud because the Earth changes. Land moves up and down on the lava plates because it's liquid underneath
Well,
it.
that's the thing. We always find these really really old pictures and stuff, and where do we find them? Super deep, deep, deep into caves and stuff like that. The reason isn't because that's where they lived or anything. It's because somebody else a long time ago had the same idea. If I go really, really far into here, I bet I can put something here that'll probably be here for another 20,000 years.
Yeah,
Nobody else is coming in here.
nothing's gonna.
So if I
There,
put some,
no massive heat wave is gonna
nothing's gonna touch
destroy
it.
it. No big
That's why they
earthquake.
chose
No
really
big
deep into
tidal
cave. It's
wave.
not,
No
it's not like it was like
tornado.
everybody's living in there at the time.
No, no. They
It's
put
just
it there
it's just that
because
they chose it. They chose it
exactly.
super safe. You know, in terms of you ever seen the
Where would you want?
like
Because you're right. You're right. Think about it. Where would you store a time capsule if you wanted people to remember? Where would you store a time capsule? Think. The safest place you could think of, wherever that may be, buried in the ground, put in a cave, put in a steel chest somewhere. You'd put a time capsule where it could be seen, and you'd remember it, and it'd be safe. You don't put a time capsule in the garbage and go, maybe at some point I'll drive over there and find it in the trash. You don't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. But you're right. You're absolutely
safest
right,
place.
Brad. I'm just saying, like, it's just like a time capsule. But if you can't, like, let's say you knew the metal got melted and there's no more metal, what are you going to use?
Yeah. That's what they did with the Gnostic text. They put it in a jar and put it in a cave, buried it. So,
Exactly. Safekeeping.
yep.
You, Yeah,
Yeah, I think Brad owns something there.
yeah. You got it, man.
That was a mystery. I thought that
You got it,
is a
man.
mystery. What I saw a mystery there. What I
You
mean, of
solved the
course, that's what I
mystery. You
mean.
solved the mystery why we have all these crazy carvings everywhere. I think the crazy carvings
Because
are just to
everything else
say
is
this is
destroyed.
going to
That's what I
happen,
mean. Everything
and
on
then
the
this is going to
surface is all
happen, and then
destroyed.
that's going to happen. Don't forget,
The only things we find are
you
things in
know?
caves.
Yeah. That's what I think a lot of them are. I mean, sure, some might be like cave drawings of like a kid going, and
I
he
mean,
drew something,
dinosaur
but
bones are like a fluke of nature, practically. The
hmm,
fact that we even have any of them are just, it's like an anomaly that happened. That these things, there's a lot of, something happened at that time that a lot of them could die instantly and preserve a line of, I mean, they had to be covered in some like massive amounts of soil right away
and yeah, what's that? What if
and not get eaten into.
what if we get hit by a meteor? But well, I don't know if that killed the dinosaurs, maybe, but what if that happens, and it just a massive fire wave goes across the earth, destroys pretty much everything except for rock, and someone could predict it. That person would go to a place that was safe, carve it in a rock, and be like, "Big boomy thing, boom!" And
Yeah,
it's like, "Watch out!"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, how can I like relate to you in the most simplistic form because I don't know how future generation would understand it. So I got to make it simple, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we give this whole idea that everybody's like that's the most advanced. Like no, I think they're just trying to like get their point across, and they're already deep in a cave where there wasn't that much lighting. They had to be quick because they only had like 2 hours worth of torch.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
didn't have unlimited resources. Like
So we're not
like
expecting
a Minecraft
like
backpack, you can just
Einstein's
build
EM
64
scenes
coal and
buried
burn it.
on a cave somewhere.
Yeah, and especially like if they
Yeah,
knew,
they just had a few hours to draw some
yeah,
things, and I mean, it's just old school graffiti in my mind. I don't even think it was from people who are more important. I think it was from people who are more adventurous and stuff like that.
it was probably
Going
the
and climb.
adventurous
You
people
found
that
that stuff in
survived
France.
that they had to do
Those,
something. So it wasn't the artistic people that were going in there and making a
yeah,
big tablet,
the artistic people were bought right in the
some guy
cities.
like me or
They were
you
going to be in
going
the
out
cities
there.
selling their paintings to people. It was random people, yeah, random adventurous people that were because civilization never just had cavemen. People formed bonds in cities and all that kind of stuff always. I don't
Mm,
think there was this time. I mean, look at monkeys and trees still form society. There's not this time period where we were all running around on our own, like killing it. You know what I mean? Like monkeys work. Look at the way they work. In India, they like team up where one will pull you one way, and then when you turn, the one steals from behind you.
hmm
Uh, the, even if we were evolved from monkeys at that point, I'm pretty sure there was never a dumb point where we were all cavemen being dumb, living in a bunch of like caves around us. Pretty sure we've always been smart enough to figure things out.
unless we had some
I don't even
massive
like the term cavemen. Why would we choose to live in a cave?
I
Maybe
think
sometimes, but
unless we had some massive thing where there was too much heat and we had to live in a cave for a while, maybe that's why. But I don't know.
yeah, but you find out some of those places there's like dug out for 20,000 people to live, and it's like almost like ant hills underground from humans.
Yeah,
Sometimes 6 levels deep, and having rooms all in them and stuff like that.
I don't
Where
know.
was that found? That was like I think it was in India or something. They found that.
Well, they had places in Arizona and the Grand Canyon area, I think too. I think
Yeah.
they have some of those places too.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's pretty fascinating to go into some of that though. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think we covered the
I
Christmas
don't think
thing
that was the Atlanteans,
here a little
but
bit.
I'm sure they celebrated giving too. It's like we already cracked that code. We don't
I
need to
think,
relapse.
yeah. I wonder if they had, because with I wonder too, and we didn't discuss this, but I think what they had at the top of the pyramid was a big prism. Like they had a big prism, some kind of crystalline
Mm.
structure. I don't know. I don't think it
That's
was
why I always said
gold.
I'm not always in guarantee that it was solid gold.
I don't think it
It's a
was.
lot of gold
That
if that
that that
pyramid was.
seems a little
That's a lot of gold.
weird. I think what they would
Sometimes
have there
I wonder if
is a big
I
prism,
wonder if
so
it was
when the
more of a
light hits it,
magnifying glass
it
or
creates
a
this
rod.
rainbow like everywhere, and it just becomes this giant, awesome structure to look at, like a just a monolith of beauty to look at. Maybe they put some plating around some areas of it, but I would imagine they have a giant prism up on top, and it, you know,
Mm.
Or just giant conducting unit of metal.
maybe it's Stargate. Maybe that's all it is. It's just a contraption. The aliens land on it, and they, control us from there, and they shoot us with lasers, and Kurt Russell
Didn't the
gets
pyramids
to
become like
play a part.
spaceships longer in Stargate though?
What?
It's pretty weird. That was pretty weird.
It
Thought it
was
was
not.
flying up in space.
I like the movie better than TV series. I know everybody liked TV series because they like the MacGyver character, but MacGyver, Richard
Yeah,
does better job MacGyver, I think. I don't
it was fun, but
know. I don't know, guys. Um, you guys want to talk about anything else? I'm kind of out of ideas here at the moment.
Well, I think it was pretty exhaustive. Uh, Definitely covered the bases, like Atlantis and Christmas.
exactly.
Mm,
Thomas, we covered every
Yeah,
base.
yeah.
Well, except for like their travel.
we
Did they
now
have?
know if aliens celebrate Christmas. There's no.
Uh-oh.
Yes,
That's
they
a
do.
whole. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I would no. I don't think they'd. Well, they no. I don't think they'd have anything like what we have.
It's around the solstice
I think
time,
if they had a planet, I don't think they'd have
and if they had two suns,
I
did they
don't know.
celebrate Christmas twice as often?
Probably.
Too many solstices.
Yeah, that's fascinating though. Like if there were aliens, they probably have stuff that we couldn't imagine, like they may not even have festivals.
Hmm.
Who even, how do you even begin to speculate about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's not always just about technology because our technology only advances based on what we already like and do. It's about completely different concepts on how people choose to do things
Yeah.
Hmm.
that you can't really think about that you know
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, it just goes back
I don't
to
even know.
pretty much the premise of what you're saying, Frank, is how the environment shapes so much of our customs, and our ways of thinking without us even knowing it,
Yep.
right? So
Hmm.
same thing would apply to aliens. They like whatever their tyrant. If you knew their topography, if you knew their weather, and like
Yep.
Brad's saying, if they had two suns or whatever, then you can kind of maybe take a guess at it. Like, hey, yeah,
Hmm. Well, if they're out there, we gotta go out there and tell them about our traditions.
yeah,
Gotta do that.
they tell them about Jesus.
Yeah. Alien Jesus would be interesting to know if they had one. Then we'd know they're alien
But
Jesus.
that's what you do. I mean, that's what you do. What would be the first thing you do if you had alien contact life? What would be the first thing you'd try to do
You
to make
talk about your
peace?
morals, honestly, because as soon
You'd
as
give
you
them a
meet,
gift.
because as soon as you go out and you meet another culture or peoples or
You give
something
them
like that.
a gift of your culture to show what you've created, what your culture is capable of. Here's a gift to you guys.
Yeah,
And you expect that kind of same treatment back, or they give you a gift as an exchange of peace.
yeah,
The gifts are a sign of peace.
Yeah.
I think under the Piscean age, we would have shared our beliefs, right? Like what we believe, what our cultural norms, our customs, our ethics. But under the Aquarian age, we'd share what we have come to know, what we've discovered, our knowledge and stuff like that. That's what we would sort of like share with each other up to a point, keeping ourselves
Hmm.
safe, of course. We don't want to share up to a certain point, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. I think after that,
That's what you got going on right now. Because just going back what you were talking about, Brad, like at the very beginning when we were talking about all this, it's like you're really getting to this point. Why is there so much like discontent right now? Like why is this side versus that side? Well, it's going back to like we're in that handoff between the old way of thinking. The Piscean age doesn't want to let go, wants to hang on to that paradigm, and the new Aquarian age is coming in, and those two sides are basically fighting. But I mean, I hate to break it to the Piscean types, but you guys are on the losing end of things. Like your old way is going out. But the good point is we're going to take everything that all the good that we learned from that, right, with us. So it wasn't in
mm,
vain.
yeah, yeah, you got to bring the good stuff going forward, you
Yeah.
know, and that's what I was saying before. I think that's why the Atlantean age fell. I think there's a lot of
Mm.
people out there that think they're either a part of the Atlantean age or something to do with family lines or just trying to go back to, you know, hope they're a part of it, or they just have this instinct or this belief about it. And whether they think that they used to be those people or not, it's not important anymore. It doesn't matter, you know,
You think that
if people thought that they had an incarnation there as that, or they had an
Yeah.
incarnation as an alien or something like that. It doesn't matter anymore. You're here right now, like the present. That's why it's a gift. You know, you can't go back in the past and be like, well, I'm going to be like the past. You're not in the past. You're here. You're right now. You have to live this existence right now. You know, as much as you want to change to be who you thought you were or what that structure was, it's not the, you know, you can't be yourself if you're trying to be something that you thought you were or what somebody else wants you to be, you know. So
So it's really about what you're saying basically is it's really about what can we learn from that, that's more important. The message,
mm-hmm.
not all the details, so much.
Yeah,
Whether it was actually happened or, you know, whether we come from them or not. That yeah, it's nice to know historically and stuff, but that's not the bigger thing. Like the bigger thing is what can we learn from what they went through and why they fell and stuff.
exactly, like a dream. It helps you understand something that you might want to hold on to, something that profound dream you had, you know, like Joseph's dreams that he talked about because he could interpret them. They have a meaning. Uh, Understand what the meaning is and take what you can from that meaning. Don't hold on to things that just they don't have any value in your life anymore. You know.
Mm.
and I agree with you, Thomas. I mean, the whole point of our show, in a sense, of why we called it We Are Aquarius is that we believe we're entering into a new age. You know, you're right. It's, whether whatever people think, whether it be right or wrong, we're entering into this age of information. I think it, it's gonna be like this awakening for a lot of people, and I'm not sure how it'll. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how. I think we're all already on the same side, regardless of differences. We're already on this side of like, well, you know, you we can conversate and survive, and like
Mm,
I think certain people are gonna end up going to war, and it's gonna end up being these smaller factions of people who really just want to eliminate other people, and the problem's gonna end up solving itself. I think you're gonna see like millions of other people be like, yeah, I'm just not getting involved in that. Like
yeah.
it's
Mm.
I don't know why you're so, everything is chemicals. I don't know why people are so like don't understand that everything you feel is just a chemical.
Mm.
You you don't have to take it to, if you're feeling the thought of suicide. I'm not saying that you should go medicate. You should just understand, because you can medicate if you want. I mean, I'm not that's again your choice, but you should understand that it's just chemicals. I mean, you can control those chemicals on it slowly and steadily,
Yeah.
and change this concept of why you want to commit suicide, or if you're, you know, super horny all the time, you can't seem to focus on anything. You can, it's chemicals. You can focus. If you're super hungry all, I'm not getting the religious sense of it. Just chemicals. We're all just made up of different chemicals. It's just, that's our thought process.
Mhm.
How, and you know, chemicals are just produced in our brains. That's how we think.
Yeah.
You want to gain endorphins? Do some drugs. Shoot some more chemicals into you. You know, it's,
Although I
you
don't,
want to pump
I
more
don't,
iron.
I don't,
Put some steroids.
I
in you,
can't promote
chemicals.
that, man.
We
just
know,
go,
we
just go do
specifically
drugs.
know the
No,
chemicals.
don't go just do
No, but
drugs.
I'm saying we specifically know the chemicals for a lot of things to be able to create better enhancements and stuff like that. And we're even making the stevia of steroids nowadays to try to mask them, and synthetic marijuanas and stuff like that. You'll try to create crazier chemicals to just produce the same feelings as other things. It's just interesting to me. But like everything, I mean, the amount of color that you see in the room, if it's bright or not to you, because chemicals are choosing to decide that. Like you gotta learn how to make your brain turn the chemicals into like better actions. Does that make sense? No, not really. But
No,
still,
no, it totally makes sense. Like, I mean,
you got to
Control.
become healthy. That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's
yeah, you
control
got to
of your
control
own.
it. You got to control it. It's not, none of it's really even real. It's, I mean, it's not real. It's not that. It's not that deep or specific. It's not really that real. You just change it. You just change it. I
mastership,
don't know.
master it.
I'm not saying that you suddenly become a lawyer and you can change your financials. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to. I'm trying to say your own happiness and your own
Yes.
mindset. I see people going to work every day and they're like, hate my job. I'm like, quit. And they're like, well, I can't just quit. I need my money. And it's like, well, then why hate it? Seems great. You need your job to afford to keep living in your house and all that. Seem like you should be happier. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Exactly.
already better than a lot of other people. What are you
Change your
hating?
situation.
And it's like, oh, I got to do all this work. Is there a job where you don't have to do work? And even if there was a job where you don't have to do work, I bet they'll complain about how they're always freaking bored.
Exactly.
It's like, you know,
That's why we talked about it earlier, Brad. We said if you have nothing to do, we didn't come here. Like the reason that we're here is to work. You know, it might be in the Old Testament like, oh, you'll work till you die. It sounds like a curse, but honestly, it's healthy for us. It's fulfilling. We feel good doing some work. You know, it's just
Well,
you know.
sorry, didn't mean
Oh,
to cut you off.
go ahead.
oh,
I want
go
to hear
ahead.
Thomas.
Um, I just would like to say, like, not necessarily correct you, but just more maybe my point of view, enhance it, um, which is we're not here to do work, but we're here to do a work. And
Yes,
that's the way, if you
yes.
think of it that way,
hmm
then
That's
life
kind of what I was
becomes,
trying to get at with
yeah,
you know saying that. But yeah, we're here to do our work. I should probably say to specify a little better. But we're here to do our work as to who we are and what we are, because you can do what somebody else wants you to do, and I think that's what Brad's trying to say. A lot of
yeah,
people get to that point. They're trying to say that, oh, I hate my job. I hate it. They hate the fact that they're not doing their work. Inside, they know their work
and
Better than this,
isn't that.
or not even just necessarily better, but it's like I'm different than this. I should be more in control of. I mean, you can let life live itself for you. Life, you can literally go in autopilot in your life and just let life make every choice for you. Someone comes up to you and, you know, hey, here's this.
Hmm
totally,
And, you know,
man. We're
I see
starting
it. I
going into
see.
motivation now, man. I'm liking it. Turning into motivation
I
channel.
I see some people I like. I fear. I don't understand. I don't know how you want to live like that. Like, I mean,
Well,
I got my problems too, and you know, I'm certainly in every in in every aspect. It's like I certainly have my flaws. You know, I should be doing other things better, but you know, you weigh your pros and cons. You get financial situations, or you know, you can't just be spending the extra dollar on every single thing you want to do the better. You know, or buy my own gym if I could. Have my own throw all this trash away, except for my piano. Love my piano.
Not the pool
But
table. Or sell
pool
it to me.
table,
I'll take
I'll get rid of the pool table.
it. Sell it
And
to
you
me. I'll
have it.
take it for
If you
And
were to
that
take it, you can have
room
it.
is
It needs to be refelted.
that room you guys unreal, man. I almost thought it wasn't real. I was like, man, that's a setup right there. Man, you got it. It looks nice.
Yeah,
You got
but that's what I mean. There's tons of things. If we're nitpicking my house, there's tons of things I need to fix in my house. You know, I would love a better stereo system.
it. Yeah.
I love to fix certain parts of the door. I love there's new everything. New, you know, new bookshelf. I
Mhm.
love new everything. You know,
Yeah.
everything can always be upgraded, and that's what I mean. You get to this point. It's not that I want it though. I don't want it. It's just that I hate when something breaks and falls apart unexpected. You
Yeah.
know, you feel like you're living on the edge or something. Edge. You
Yeah.
know, like it's
I'm
annoying
I'm
sometimes.
kind of starting to feel that too, you know. Now I got a house. I was like,
It's
oh
the
crap.
opposite of
When's the next thing
motivation.
gonna break here?
No, but
I gotta fix it. You know, because the fridge is about to go. I could hear it,
I
and
mean
I'm
it.
like, I gotta get a new
Listen, but
fridge
but
now.
like you said, when something breaks or is broken, you go and look at it. Like you said about work, it gives you purpose. You suddenly feel good when, especially when you fix it. You're like, damn, yep, yeah, I did it. You know,
Yeah.
like in this meaningless world where a dishwasher doesn't even need to exist in the first place. When you fix it, you get this same rewarding feeling and chemical rewarding feeling that people would do if they were to catch a fish 1,000 years ago.
Hmm.
You know, it's primordial, these feelings you get when you do good things for yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, we really shouldn't look. It's like I said about porn free and all that. It's scary when rewarding yourself is so easy.
Hmm.
You know, it I mean, I seen more buildings fall apart because people double check their work anymore. They think, oh, what I did was great, and then all of a sudden they miss, and a building will, you know, not it doesn't function right. Bridges are breaking, especially in China. It seems like that they're not crossing their T's and dotting their I's,
Well, we had that here about
and it's
8 years
scary.
ago with the bridges, and then they went to tear down a lot of them
Look
and
at
redo them.
Florida; those buildings in Florida that weren't inspected a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have
And it's
common sense
annoying.
like that, yeah, I definitely think that when you have a common space, you gotta have like this sort of regulations. You gotta have like someone checking on your work kind of thing, because we're human, right? But like in our own personal life, we got to be our own masters and regulators. Like I think like what you were saying, Brad, about how it's gratifying to go and fix something, right? It's
Hmm.
like you accomplished that. Wow, like I didn't think I could do this, and like I made my refrigerator come back on, right? That's awesome. But I also think on top of that is if your refrigerator is breaking down and you're having to go fix it, it's a metaphor about something else going on in your life, about the choices you made that led to that. And
Yeah.
that's just trying to tell you something.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those experiences lately with
Mm.
things where something just wasn't working, and I'm like, that also correlates to another part of my life. And it's like, how can I make that connection? I shouldn't be able to make the connection. You know that correlation doesn't equal, or causation doesn't equal
Causation.
correlation,
Yep.
but a lot of the time
Yep.
it does seem to do that.
It's telling you something about
And
like
we're
what led me here, and like what's it trying to tell me, like what choices I made that led to this broken
Listen, all
refrigerator.
right, all right. I'm gonna try to enlighten you. So as I said earlier, the circle is 3.14 in pi. When you turn pi into 3, it becomes a hexagon. It's a more simple shape. Not everything follows. See, we see everything in the 3.14. We see it in the spherical pattern of everything, but not everything follows that same pattern in our world, in our existence. some things fall in these hexagon pattern shapes. They can't do certain things,
That's the
and
paradox,
they
though, isn't it,
function
Brad?
a different they function a different way.
Yeah.
We don't see it though. We just don't see it, and it's like I said before about the power of the odds, the idea of the odds. I never said on this show. See, John Thomas has no clue what I'm talking about. But what are the odds that something's going to happen? I mean, it's everything. What are the odds? That's everything that exists is just all the odds of it happening or not happening. I mean, and you're right though. I think there's patterns. I think when you start getting away from the circle pattern, you're getting this hexagon. You start to see that things are much more simpler, and you can start mapping out more patterns. But we're so focused on everything and the circle of it all, and how we can. I mean, we're at the
It
point
looks
now
like
where I'm saying
going
gravity
in a
doesn't even
circle, but
gravity doesn't really
really
exist.
is a hexagon, right? Like it taking us somewhere.
I think the hexagon is like the key shape to everything.
Yeah.
It's the simplest shape of nature. It's
That's
just,
interesting.
they say
That's also
you
the
think you
triangle
wanted
at
to think it's
points.
you want to think it's a circle because a bubble, like a sphere, a bubble will come into a sphere. That's the dumbest, easiest shape. A sphere, a bubble, just equal pressure around itself perfectly. So like the sphere is important. Like you said, the triangle has the strongest. So it make
Yeah. I
of
think
shapes,
I think I
and that's why
heard somewhere in, I don't know if it was a physics class or a math class, that the fundamental shape is the triangle, and that a square and a circle are just a bunch of triangles.
wall. I think the wall. I think nature is the hexagon.
Okay.
That's just.
Interesting.
I mean, the hexagon is triangles basically. You
Yeah.
put triangles in to make the hexagon.
Right.
6 of them.
Well, when you
That's
do the
fair.
Pythagorean thing, you go from one little block to a bigger block, but each of those corners equals up to 6. So maybe
That's
that
true.
they kind of meld
I'm not a
together in a way.
mathematician, so
I don't know.
I don't really
I don't
I don't
know.
really know what I'm necessarily talking about. I'm just saying that I think that the hexagon is very important in nature and understanding.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you're definitely onto something. Like there's a paradox of the perfect circle versus the hexagon, like how they simultaneously exist, that allows for choice. That's kind of what I hear you. I don't know if you're saying it that way consciously, but that's my takeaway. One of the takeaways from
Well,
you speak about that.
all right, this is what I don't understand. The pi means the radius, and probably some math person could easily answer it for me. But pi means the radius, right? Of like the distance around the circumference around the circle, right? And it
Yeah.
adds up to 3.14. And I don't understand if it's 0.14, we have this over amount from the easiest way to make pi, which is a hexagon. Where does the 0.14 come into play? If the that would make it that the hexagon's a simpler shape because it's like less to make pi. To make this circumference, it's
Yeah.
less.
Right.
Is it apple pie or is
So
it
it's easier. It's an
cherry
easier
pie?
shape. But we don't see. This is what I started thinking about. Perhaps everything we see is just an absolute lie.
No, wait a
And
minute.
it's a
Wait a minute. Wait,
completely
hold
different.
that thought. Can I just interject? Because I really
Yeah.
think you're onto something. And I think what this, I don't know this for certain. I'm just totally postulating. What you're onto is the very universe is curved, and circles are merely illusions of hexagons.
Right.
The real thing.
Exactly.
Sure, it's not an
You get it
octagon.
then. You get what I'm trying to say. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Circles are merely an illusion of what's actually a hexagon surrounding us.
Yep.
But we see them as circles.
Because of the curvature of
Because
the
it's
metal.
that's just what we, and that's what we would see. Because the only word to even exist would be, I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. But that's what I think. That's what I think.
You
You're
crazy,
getting,
Brad. You're
you're
freaking
getting
me
into
out,
this
dude.
extra 1/4 is extra to the hexagon.
Yeah. Right. It's very odd though. Like, why that extra 1.4? It's not even whole number. Like, what the freak?
It's not even a whole number.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes the illusion of it. It never really ends. It keeps curving. You can never really see the end of it.
Yeah.
You can't find it. That's why it has to be infinite. That's what makes the circles so cool, because the circles, I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, everything's just like an illusion.
You
We're
should
actually
go
seeing
write. You should go
hexagons,
write it
but
all
it
this
just looks
down. Like,
like,
go get you some pads and start writing this down. Like
yeah, but I
someday,
don't.
somewhere in the future, someone will find them and be like,
We have a
man, this
podcast.
guy,
Wait, we're solving more things here tonight.
he can be like in
Well,
history.
I thought about it. I thought about it the other day. I even thought, if we did all of our like calculations, we pi 3, and I was even thinking we should also do them in just like a 6 base system instead of we go to tens.
Yeah,
10 base. We should just do 6 base
yeah.
on
And
pi
I've heard
3.
that one before. Yeah, yeah. I've heard that theory of that it would be serve us because of the way the circles,
Or at least 12
360, and
bases.
all of that. Yeah, be a lot much more simplistic and to the point.
I'm just not. I wish I understood math, but
To the
I
point
can't figure
means
out this
to the
equation.
dot of the circle, which is a hexagon. I'm
Yes,
just.
but you get it. You
I'm just proving a
understand
point.
what I'm trying to say. You
Is it
understand what
though?
I'm trying
Is
to
it though,
say.
or
It's
is
just
it
an
is
illusion.
it the more
But why
circular, the
would
more
think about it
hexagonal,
though?
or
Our eyes are going to correct it
octagonal, or
anyway. Why wouldn't your eyes correct it? I thought about this. What if we have the sense go through pockets of space and time, and it slows down for but everything's what is going to slow down? Everything slows down, but you don't realize it. We go right through these areas and things where normal time, and then it's like it slows down there, but everything's slowing down, but we don't realize it. We don't even realize it because our brains just have this kind of seventh or eighth whatever sense that just doesn't let us notice that time. And right now what's happening is we're actually going faster through a pocket. That's why we're all so much more stressed. We can't think because we're actually going faster through time, and our brains just compensate it. We just compensate it. It's normal time for us. We correct this value of time. But how do we know? I mean, time is effect of the gravitational pull and all that. It's
Yeah,
right, isn't it?
it's all just perception because the way we think of time is just how many times to go around the sun, right? So it's just all made up anyway. As
Yeah,
far
it's
as
all.
how
I mean,
we
it's all made up.
experience that, yeah, like it definitely depends on frequencies and stuff and light and all of that. Like definitely believe in that.
Gravity's gravity's just a reaction of all the pull anyway. But that's what I'm saying. How do we know we're not going through these like turns in more cosmic senses? Maybe our whole galaxy is in a turn where it's like we're in hydrogen 7 anyway in our solar system and all that. We're kind of lucky where we are. That makes not everything much more hotter. That makes our place more climatable anyway.
Are
It's
we
like
lucky
weird
or are
when you
we
think
just
we have.
incidental?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's what I mean. It's
are
like a
we
clock.
lucky
We're
or
like
are
a
we
clock.
just
It bounces.
incidental? You know, the circumstances allowed
Well,
us to be here, not so much luck.
I
You
don't
know,
think it's luck.
it's just
It's too perfect to be luck.
yeah.
I think what controls this now, if that's his case, makes me wonder because when I read about some Hermes Trismegistus stuff, I think I'm saying his name right. Hermes Trismegistus. He mentioned his apprentice to beware the angles, and if the angles, I don't know if that was angels or what. I think he meant angles when he was going to the next side instead of going like this, this, and this. Um, what if what Brad's saying is that a circle is the illusion of the angle? Everything we're seeing is illusion. Maybe it's just beware the illusion that this is the reality. Like Jesus said, if you live for this world, you die for it. Or what else did he say? He said something, another part along that line that. Do you remember that part, Thomas? Right now, I'm trying to remember that quote that he said. That
I know what you're kind of saying. I think the gist of it is basically like, um,
living for
I
this
wouldn't
world
say
is.
Christ wouldn't say it this way, but I'm just sort of paraphrasing in a more modern way that the sort of takeaway is if you see things the way it is here, then basically the laws of seeing it that way will govern you. But if you see things from different way, then a different set of laws will govern you. And
Mm,
so the mindset makes all the difference, basically. That's
yeah.
kind of the
Right.
takeaway that I get from what I think, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Our own senses are our prison,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah.
We just don't have we're just not
Our, our
evolved enough yet to know how to.
our mind wants to trust these senses around us in this world, and it's like all that's a lie anyway.
Yeah,
You really need to trust what's in your
we're
mind.
not able to do that yet, I don't think. Like, I think we can start to sort of like toy with it in our minds.
Hmm.
But I do think in time some of us will, get to that place where we can start to transcend some of these like physics, laws of physics and stuff. The way what we think is like, oh, it's set in stone is
Like,
not really set in
like
stone.
what's even in the Nag Hammadi where it says that matter is essentially the devil or essentially evil,
Yeah.
and the mother was matter. I can't remember which book it was, but I think it was the origins of create. I think it's the origins of creation. I don't
On the
know
origins of the world, yeah.
the origins of the world, but they said that the mother or the evil that was this is matter. So if
Yeah.
the angles are the perception of reality with the triangles or the hexagons and all that, the matter, that is the illusion. What we have is the illusion. No wonder why there was all these monks that went off into the nothingness and
Yeah.
gave up everything, like Saint Francis and some of these other monks and special characters that went off and just didn't want to have anything
Hmm.
because they didn't want to be attached to this. They want to make sure that when they go, there's no attachments. Like
Yeah.
people in India, they burn the bodies of the dead.
Hmm.
They even burn the clothes. They burn almost everything. They get rid of everything from the past so that person has no attachments to this realm. So when they go, they go. They don't
Hmm.
stay here, um, like as a spirit or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that definitely is a very like Catholic catharsis kind of mindset. Like Catholicism and some sects of Hinduism and even Buddhism, they share a kind of common theme about the evil of the material world, and the way to overcome it is abstinence. And that may work for some, but if that's your work, if that's what you come here to do, to show that example. But in Gnosticism, everyone's work is different. Some people are called to be very much in the world,
mhm.
and others are called to go into seclusion and ponder the the secrets of the universe.
I mean, you can't. Not everybody can be, like John the Baptist and go in the
Yeah,
desert and
right,
eat honey and eat crickets and hide in a cave. I mean,
right.
you can't always do. Like some people will be like, "Well, that's the holiest thing you do." But what if you have a family? How are you going to feed your pregnant wife crickets and honey and hope to have some kind of social
Yeah,
life with the kid and raise
right,
them up in
exactly.
a cave with nobody around? That doesn't work for families. You
Yeah,
can't. With certain people in situations, they can't do certain things. If you want to go and do that, and you have no other responsibilities, that's one thing. But if you got a family and you go off to the desert and you just leave everybody behind, you're like, I'm gonna.
and
You
that may
got
not have been what
responsibilities now.
that may not have been what God called you to do. Maybe God wanted you to have a daughter. Like that's part of your whole design. Like that's the seed that God wants you to. That's one part of the whole work that you're here to do. To learn how to raise her and show love, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one piece of your puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you get to heaven. That's how you get back to the pleroma, as Gnostics call it, is when you complete your work.
Yeah. Yeah. The responsibilities that you already have or that you committed yourself to, you have to continue until your work is complete in that sense.
That's why it's called the fullness. That's why it's called holiness. It's whole. It becomes whole, you
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
That's the on the same line. People always ignore just what believing means. Believing is following, and following is you know like you said, making a path and having to complete it, and finding your road,
Yeah.
how to complete your goal.
Yeah. So for some people, they might not have any children. They might have to wander around and talk to people. Some
Absolutely.
people that they have a family, they have children, they have to find a way to provide for those children and find a way to have that family life that they can continue so the children can grow up and become men or women of their own and have a strong family.
Is to carry on a
Uh,
work that you started. And so you're part of a collective work. And so it's a collage. And so they come into your family to pick up where you left off on another work that you're doing.
yeah.
I think it's important though that you do have to try to like create an organized pattern of meditating and praying to God, because it's easy to just say to yourself like like I can justify that, you know, and you end up kind of just praying to yourself because you're not really like you have to think of God in everything that you do. You're supposed to give like thanks to him in everything you do pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta I try to like, what would Jesus do? I try to use that phrase
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of my decisions before I make them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because, like,
Like I
go ahead.
I'll
I
just finish
thought
this.
you were done. I'm sorry.
No, I just you kind of made me think about it. It's like I simple as this. Like I said Merry Christmas to so many people this year, not just because I like to say Merry Christmas to people. A lot of people, started getting into that Happy Holidays kind of mindset. Like we gotta, you know, and I get it. And it's like I understand that if somebody doesn't like it, but it's like it's still gonna be Christmas
Yeah.
Day, and I still would like you to enjoy it. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
You're
you
spreading
can have a Merry Christmas.
the love, right? You're spreading the seed of,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, if somebody was like, "Oh, I'm Jewish," I can say, "Well, I hope you had a happy Hanukkah,"
yeah.
or is it still? I don't even, but like
Mm-hmm.
it, I'd still say, but Merry Christmas. I mean, growing up, my mom had a Jewish friend that always was like giving me Christmas presents every year. She's my
Oh, yeah,
aunt.
I take
Kind
no
of my aunt.
offense to somebody saying to me
Yeah,
Happy Hanukkah, so I don't think anybody should take offense if I say Merry Christmas to them. I don't really
yeah,
get that whole
yeah.
thing.
I never
Yeah.
understood. Well, that was like again, like you said, the media loves to just make these divides amongst
Mm.
people, and it's
Yeah,
hard
I
sometimes.
think
But
you
I felt
have to
like this.
kind of say what you are. You know,
yeah,
you say
yeah,
what you are. You don't have to go out and say what they are, unless you want to just generalize the Happy Holidays thing. But
yeah. If you
um,
want to commune with them, you could say Happy Hanukkah, you know.
mhm.
Sometimes I say happy holidays to some people just because I was switching it up to some people. And, I want you to have a happy new year too, you know?
Mhm.
It's like,
I think
happy
the
holidays.
uh, it's good to be apologetic sometimes if you know you did something really wrong. But I think people got too hard on the situation of like trying to be apologetic for every little thing, and
Yeah,
it comes off as kind of sad and sometimes
yeah,
pathetic when you do. It's like, why are you doing this? You know, it's like, what are you
yeah,
doing? You know, you don't have to go like, oh, you're not this. Oh, well, what?
yeah. The
No,
political correctness is, yeah,
yeah.
it's not really helpful or beneficial ultimately, I don't think. You just have to be
You can do
you,
it, but
and
yeah,
if everybody just like respects, like, hey, that's your way, and this is my way, and it's all good,
yeah.
you know. You like saying Christmas, Merry Christmas, and I'll say Merry Christmas because I want to commute with you. So
Hmm.
it's all good.
And it lets other people know what you celebrate and more
Hmm.
along the lines of what you are, you know.
Yeah.
So if somebody that said, you know, wish you well in Samhain or something like that, or,
Mhm.
you know, this other festival or something, you know,
Yeah.
then I would kind of know what
Well,
they lean
you know,
towards.
you make you make a good point. And again, this is a much larger, broader thing here. But I was even saying, all right, so I'm not going to get personal. I'm not going to get to the personal conversation. I went in Rome, you do Rome, and I think the whole thing is the United States is a melting pot. So when you get in this, like, hey, when you're going to a Spanish speaking country, you don't ignorantly just speak English. You try your best to speak the Spanish
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
even if you sound stupid, you do what you can do, or you at least try to speak slow English if or point. You don't just be like, I want a hamburger, and look at them like, well, how do you know?
Or you
You're
say, "No
not
have
American. That's
español
you know.
hamburger." You do that.
Yeah.
But with America, we're in this melting pot, and I think we kind of hit this transitional point where it's like, oh well, it's true. Offensive to one person and not offensive to another, vice versa.
Hmm.
Can't please everybody. There's too many different groups of people here, and it's not saying. I guess that's the wrong way to put it. Not too many. There's just a lot of different groups of people. It's just, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's tough. We're entering this point where it's like, well, what's acceptable? And I feel like it's like, well, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
it's like you said, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
that should be what's acceptable. This is America. You should have the freedom of speech.
Hmm.
You should be able to say Merry Christmas and not feel upset that you hurt somebody. And
Hmm.
if they're upset about that, well, I mean, at most you could just say, I'm really sorry.
Then they,
I,
is
I
they,
guess
You shouldn't
don't
have
have a
to say
Merry
I'm.
Christmas.
You shouldn't have to say I'm really sorry.
Don't have a Merry Christmas then. Is that better? Don't have one.
You can say
well,
you're
A me-
sorry to be nice, but ultimately, is it gonna make contact? Are they gonna?
while I
Uh,
agree with you guys, um, I just want you guys to know that I think at some point they will probably change the name of the holiday. Not that I agree with that, but I think that's where we're heading. Um, because as we talked about earlier, we talked about Atlantis having a did it have Christmas or not? They didn't know about Jesus, right? Uh, they had a kind of Christmas, right? Um, I'd like to,
yeah,
because we're Christians, the three of us, right? In different ways. We got our own kind of way that we understand Christianity,
mhm.
that we got a lot of things in common as well. Um, but in the end, like you said, Brad, it's a melting pot, and I do think that's where it's
they
headed.
won't make a new holiday with this. They'll just take the one we have.
They'll just take it and change it to some other name. Uh, but I think that that's okay because what really matters is what's in your heart. Christ is gonna know. You know, Christ will
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I think that's like you hit the point. It's okay. You can keep knocking me down. You can keep it's not a knockdown. It's not even a knockdown because you can't knock me down. I have Jesus. I already have Jesus.
Mhm.
You can change my reality here, but you can't really beat me.
You
I
can't
have
change
Jesus on
you.
my side.
You're always gonna be you, and you gotta stick to that truth because that's the truth that doesn't change, right? It's like you
Hmm.
are you.
Yeah.
The world around you can change, but doesn't mean you gotta change.
Hmm.
You just gotta decide what's worth changing and what you want to keep.
Well, as you
Yeah.
get older, you start to really realize it's all that matters is the future. You you can't do anything when you're dead. You can't come up with new things, and so it doesn't matter how you know much you want something. It won't exist after you're gone anyway. I mean, unless you're Elon Musk, who will
It,
probably put his brain in a machine.
I think it
Oh,
matters for
shoot,
some people. Well, yeah, he's gonna become Walt Disney, but maybe more alive.
and Mr. Beast will
Uh,
probably buy that too.
Yeah. See, we talk about like like how Capricorn is the whole government, represents the government, and Aquarius represents the people, right? Well, that's the flip side of the Aquarian Age, where you get these exaggerated individuals. Like, look at me, I'm this individual and I'm so unique, and I'm Elon Musk, or or I'm Donald Trump, or I'm whoever, I'm so
mhm.
important. Um, so yeah, that's the flip side of it, where you talk about people who just like, well, I have a right to be what I want,
Mhm.
even if it means taking the world over, you know. So no matter how you cut the dice, it's always going to be
throwing Jeff Bezos in there then.
The flip side of things. Jeff Bezos, what's his name?
I mean,
The other
Jeff.
guy,
It's weird how Jeff.
Microsoft guy. They're all the same,
Who?
pretty much. The Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, yeah.
Oh, Bill Gates. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all cut from the same cloth, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
But then
Yeah.
how does it happen? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's all odds. The odds that certain things happen. You could have been put in the same scenario and had different outcomes. Somebody could have put it in another scenario and end up having closer to the same outcomes. Just it's all just odds. If you almost get hit by a car like 5 times, eventually the odds in your life is you don't really like cars. You just
Or you're gonna get
and
hit
if it
by another
happens to
car
you
at
when
some
you don't
point.
really have that many memories, when you don't really have any memories and like really young, it seems like you develop more of a like it's more important of a meaning to you.
yeah,
That's what I mean. Like if your memories of your childhood is just getting beat, you're not going to get this sense of like that's always going to be in the back of your mind. Am I going to get beat? Shit. And it's
You'll
like
be on
maybe
edge
for
around
30
people a
years
lot.
of your life you haven't gotten beat, but it doesn't matter. For the first 3, when you didn't have any memories, you get beat, and from there on out, it's ingrained in you. Your life. It's like I said before about teaching kids certain things and at one stuff. Whatever happens to you affects your whole life, changes you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my son one time fell on a chair, hurt his tongue, but he didn't die, and he got over it, and that made him realize nothing will ever hurt me. And it's not going to take until he really, literally breaks an arm. So I keep watching him, keep doing.
Wait, did he do
2 years now
a
we've kept him
jumping
going.
off of thing to land on it like you told me? No.
With the tongue?
Did he
No, he
jump off
kept
a
climbing on the
platform?
back of the chair. I told him 3 or 4 times, get off the chair. I kept taking him off, taking off, taking off, and I turned my back to cook one thing for just a second, and he climbed back up in that chair and it instantly fell over, and he fell on the chair.
Ooh.
I was so annoyed.
what's really interesting about it is where one kid will react to that by what you said, Brad. They're like, "Oh man, I survived this. I can survive anything." Another kid will
Right.
react totally opposite, like they won't do anything. They won't
I'm
try
never
anything.
gonna get hurt again. That pain was enough.
Yeah,
That
it was
pain was
so
enough.
it's like as a parent, you want to tell them like, "Oh, do it this way," but then it's almost like you can't predict. If you say it, do it this way, that turns out being the opposite what you need to say to them. It's almost like, so what do you do, right? Like, what can you do to get
See, for
them
again,
to,
it's the odds. The reason that happened for him was because
oh,
he had tumbled down. He had tumbled down some stair before and miscounted himself, and like he's a rebel like that. So he's had little bangs earlier that falling down. That was like okay, this is the worst one I've probably ever felt. But again, I survived. To somebody who maybe never experienced it, and then instantly, they break their arm falling off a swing. That's like everything is like everything would make you start being like, I'm gonna get hurt.
paranoid.
And now again, the younger you that you are, that there's something like that happens, the more traumatized and scared you are that it can happen later for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
To me, anyway.
I guess it depends on the scenario. Do you come out on top or do you not? Did he lose his tooth? If he lost his tooth, he's not going to want to do that again. He didn't lose his tooth and everything's fine. He's like, I could do this all day. He just kind of brush it off and,
Well, and I also want to say, it was really by the grace of God. I watched him fall as I turned around. I wasn't ignoring my kid when this happened. The only thing I could have done is maybe hit the chair a little better. But, when he fell, he like hit his chin on the back of the chair just in a perfect way that he didn't smash his face in real. I mean, he bit his tongue and it did need a stitch or two or something, but it could have been so much worse. In every which angle that he fell, he could have face planted. He could have smashed his chin on the chair. the way, but everything kind of went. There's a recent story actually where a 4-month-old got sucked up into during a hurricane or a tornado, and ended up getting caught in like a tree trunk practically. It was I think they're in a bassinet. It wasn't like just on its own. But it survived, like barely scratched. The little kid survived, and I mean, it's just crazy to think, like, what are the odds of that? What are the odds that child survived?
Now she's
Getting
going to be a
sucked up,
professional
and
skydiver.
the whole roof got ripped off.
Yeah.
Child got sucked up with it. Parents probably should have evacuated better, but something, again, I can't judge. I don't know if their situation like evacuate to where, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. And how, maybe you don't have a car. Who knows? Who knows the difficulties of it? Maybe your grandmother's sick. Trying to take care of them. So who knows? But either or, a child survived at 4 months. Survived a hurricane or a tornado. I think it was a tornado. It's like in Alabama or something like that.
I want to believe it, but also the wind sucking out, moving that fast might be hard to breathe unless they got some clothing over their nose to keep the air.
That's what I'm saying. The odds of it were probably like
that's
0.0001, and yet that baby got that exact.
I'm just saying.
Flying
I'm just
through
saying.
the Death Star.
If you fell out of a plane, well, I guess you can breathe pretty well, but I mean, if you got the winds pushing
Look it up,
against
man.
you
Look
or
it up.
pushing away
the
from
scene
you,
of it really is nuts.
yeah,
The
it'd
whole
have to
place
have
is demolished.
it'd have to
The
have
thing was
somewhat
like
of
caught in a broken tree.
I don't know.
Got caught in that broken tree. That tree branch broke and caught it. Basically, it got tangled.
That's like a miraculous
In which
situation.
the baby never
you know?
flew out because I think the bassinet was like shielded enough that it didn't create an airflow for the baby to get sucked underneath. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the baby was kind of the flow was probably over the bassinet and instead of underneath the baby, which it would have, I'm sure, because it ripped off the roof of buildings. Like that's the whole reason the baby got sucked up and it wasn't outside. The roof flew off.
The roof is
Yeah.
gone.
I mean, these weren't like these are kind of like, a little more trailerish houses. They weren't probably the strongest of houses, but powerful, scary.
Trailer
Dang,
homes aren't
your livelihood
designed
getting
to
sucked up. Imagine
handle that.
as a mother watching your baby get sucked up.
Yeah.
You think it might be and that's what she said in the video. She goes, I mean, I thought he's dead. Have we found him untouched? Crazy.
Yeah.
Miracles, man. Miracles. But
What
it's
do you
ironic
think?
that we give miracles to God and we say that the rest of the world bad things.
Yeah.
I try to say it's not a miracle of God. It's the power of what God allows in this universe. That this universe is capable of such amazing things and bad things. Now, you can't just say that when something happens good that it's God, and then when something happens bad it's the world. That's hypocritical. Then God allows things like that to happen. That amazing of a thing can happen. Imagine if that kind of feeling happened all the time. Imagine if it was like a constant feeling of you survive, that adrenaline rush. You surviving and having life, finding your child, catching the biggest fish. Imagine that feeling all the time. What would that be like? I'm just rambling at this point.
Yep. No, I get it. It's, this is the Christmas season. It's kind of the Christmas miracle that we have Jesus to look at. I know that the ancient things had their, different aspects of things to look at, but they're all very strange stories. Set doing what he did to his brother, and some of the Egyptian lore and all these other lores are just they're so weird. It's nothing, you can't relate to half of that stuff. These old lores, and you look at Odin and the Viking mythology, and you look at Indian mythology, and it's like, what the heck is going on here? It's like, what is going on? You look at Jesus, you're like, oh, most of that kind of makes sense. You know, you have a person, the Son of God, that you can relate to, and the miracle of how he was found by the Magi. You know, I believe they're Zoroastrian people that follow the stars to find him that weren't even Jewish, to find him based on the stars, based on the astrology of things, to look for Jesus, who went, used the way, the path, to find the right way to go about life. It's it is a miracle. But I don't know. I think we went pretty far. I'm kind of tired. It's already one.
That's a miracle. I'll give you that.
One.
That's a real miracle.
What is? That I'm tired?
Jesus' birth.
Oh, that I'm tired. You're gonna say.
No, you're right about that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That child being saved is miraculous odds.
It is.
I'm not going to give full credit to God, even though everything's full credit to God.
Yeah,
But yeah, sending his son.
the miracle is just life
Sending
itself.
his.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what's miraculous is basically really what you're saying. I think down to the core of it isn't so much did God do that or not, because why does God save some and not others? Like, does God really do that? Okay. But it's more just miraculous the baby survived, right? And the
Yeah.
real miracle through the whole thing, and I think it's the whole story really of Christ is, the cornerstone really is about eternal life, and so the core of this whole mythology or historical event or spiritual event or whatever, however you want to look at it, maybe all three, is life, really. That's the whole profoundness of the Christ story, how we relate to it so profoundly, really, I think, personally.
Yeah.
And the gift of life,
Yeah,
really.
life is a gift.
Yeah.
Life is a gift. Yep.
Yeah. It just comes down to how we use it.
Gift. It's a gift. We get to experience this. And
How
a
do
lot of times we get angry because it's not right, and we know it's not right, but it's still it's
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
it's his creation, and we should respect that.
It's the three
It's a gift.
coins, that Christ talked about. Everybody's given a penny, and three different guys, three different people did three different things with it. One person wasted it, the other, just sat on it. One of them just went and frivolously spent something. The second person just sat on it, was waiting to try to make it into gold, so effectively didn't do anything with it either. And then finally, the third person, went and, I don't remember exactly, but went and bought seed and planted it, and then made it into something. So that's what we got. That's what Christmas to me means, is like, the gift of life and a new opportunity, a new year is upon us. What are we going to do? Take like what we learned and carry that forward, and what are we going to do differently?
Yeah. Yeah. How are we going to treat other people, and how are we going to make our lives better, so that, because like I was saying, a lot of times you're looking to other people to understand how to live your life. How are they looking at me? If you change your life, you end up changing other people's lives because of how you see yourself, but not actually physically changing their lives. You just change yours, and everything else kind of like sort of, in a way, it kind of follows suit, because they see you become better, and they don't know why you did it, because most people have to look outside themselves, because you can't look inside yourself. You're always looking at someone else, unless you look at a mirror. But inside of yourself is the core of who you are, and that changes reality. So
Amen to that.
yep, amen to that. I say we close up shop. Uh,
Yeah.
and Thomas, it's awesome having you here. I hope if you want to come back again for another one of these, we can do
Yeah, I'm
one of
always
these.
open. Thank you for having me on. And if my channel were formatted differently, I'd invite you guys on. Um, but I don't have that kind of format. Um, I have been meaning to bring you guys up at the right opportunity. I will definitely do that. I've been going over the older books that I already pre-recorded everything. That's getting ready to be completed in the next month or so, and then I'll be making some of the newer videos, and I'll get an opportunity to bring you guys up. You guys definitely deserve, I think, well, I don't know if deserves the right word, but I think it would be benefit a lot of people to hear you guys.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Welcome. Thank you.
So,
I just enjoy your company. You know, you're a lot of
mhm.
fun.
Thanks. You guys too. I mean, you
And
guys are awesome. I really like
I
you guys' dynamic. And you
Yeah,
guys come up with
I love
some really interesting stuff. Like, just I like the format because it's just off the cuff, and sometimes the most like inspiring stuff, pop up in that kind of environment.
yeah. It's more fun this way, as you can joke around when you want
At
to.
first, it kind of was like I was like, "Oh my God, what am I getting myself into?" But the further I went into it, I was like, "Yeah, I can see. Okay, okay, I
Yeah,
get it."
yeah, yeah. We
Well, that's what's fun about life. Yeah. We all
mhm,
have to live together. Yeah.
mhm,
And I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like, doing greater things than these is learning how to coexist with everybody. Everybody can learn how to find each other's difference. Okay, you're good at this, you do this. You're good at this, you do, and we all learn how, we strengthen ourselves. Power, power in numbers. We don't want to go extinct as a species because we fight each other and we war and we destroy each other. We want to show what the potential of our species can be, and we need to make sure we send that message forward that that's
mhm,
through uniting and accepting each other's differences and learning how to strengthen ourselves from these differences and not learn how to just become the many churches of Paul, and just divide yourself up into, well, you think this way and I can't be seen with you, and you think this way and I can't be seen with you, and you're just in these small little 5 people congregations that aren't looking at anything more than just like sinister.
yeah,
So it's, we gotta be open minded and open hearted
exactly.
on how we handle things with people. And that's why I said earlier, this should go viral because it's like I I don't think I've ever been in such a peaceful conversation with people over differences on things. People love to name call immediately.
Hmm.
People love to just get angry and not wait to hear what the other person has. And it's in the end you end up kind of deriving to the same thing, thinking I almost start an argument over something that's, we don't even actually see it that way. So we're actually kind of on the same page still. And it's mostly because people just don't, the language is limited. We don't know how to explain ourselves all the time on how we want to say. It's mostly because time is the essence, and you can only get so many words across, and you don't
Hmm.
you know you don't you want to try to say what you're going to say. Oh, that one, oh, that came out differently. And
And
why?
so that's why
Because
they
you're from a
say
different region. So
that's why
some
they
people
say
speak
you're.
differently, and it means different things. I mean, in Spanish dialect, cabron in one area is bad, in another area it's just like, hey, what's up, dude? It's a dude kind of term.
Oh, yeah.
It's still not necessarily a positive connotation, but they're not gonna fight you for calling you. It's not like they're gonna. It's
Hmm.
just, and nowadays it's kind of all lessened. The word cabrón is lessened everywhere because you already know, as you've learned culture from other places, that it's not as big of a deal. You can't get too upset if it's not a big of a deal for you.
Hmm.
There's other words out there that kind of have done that in certain circumstances as well. I'm not going to get all the details of those certain words because we don't need to go into all the name calling, but
Yeah. Well,
we
that's
all
what
have
they
our
say to
differences,
be
and it's
short with
it's cool.
somebody. It's because you I feel like you don't have enough time. So you're short with the person, but then because you're short with the person, you name call. You know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We are Aquarius. If you want to be a part of Aquarius, you have to pay, what was it, $80, Brad? Or was it 70?
We're running a special right now.
Yeah, we're running a special, so I think it's 50 with
And if
discount.
all you got is 55, that's fine.
And just, look at the link down below. You can donate as much as you want to us, also to Thomas as well. We appreciate cash, but if you got gold or jewels, that would be cool too. But if you can't do that, then just leave a thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe.
I think really anything except for
yeah,
that's dangerous.
maybe a good comment or any comment, that
Comments.
well, no, not any kind of comment. That I take that back. I don't want any kind of comment. I want
Nah, send it. I dare you.
a good comment, about love and peace and I find it fascinating. We actually connected this whole thing tonight. I was like, let's get two complete. We found a connection there, though. That's awesome.
Atlantis and Christmas.
You had to go all the way around the circle to get to the other side, but you connected.
And you had to talk about the circle to get there. Wait, no, that was different. That was near the end.
All right, wrap it up. I'm tired. I gotta work tomorrow.
All right, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much for
Love you all,
watching.
guys.
Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you in the next live stream.